Service, Rabbi Michael Weinberg spoke for many parents with family members caught in the crossfire of the brutal attacks.
She's staying with friends who have a safe room in their apartment because she doesn't have one in her apartment.
Rabbi Weinberg's daughter was at first unable to book a flight back home from Israel, but was finally able to get tickets for a weekend flight. Meantime, the governor is pledging Illinois support for Israel following the Hamas terror attacks. Pritzker, who is Jewish, said he has put state police and law enforcement on alert at synagogues and other gathering places for Jews. Residents of Joliet Township packed Tuesday night's board meeting rejecting the township's attempt to receive and spend a state of Illinois asylum seeker grant. The $8.6 million in political money is supposed to help Joliet Township and other municipalities around the state welcome illegal immigrants.
We are unprepared of something that we didn't know about. So I'm here today to say, we should have had an idea, we should have known about it, we should have put a press release because it connects all people.
Facing an angry public for the first time, Township Supervisor Angel Contreras admitted the inclusion of the City of Joliet and Joliet Fire Department as cooperating with the grant application was an oversight.
The inclusion of the City of Joliet Fire Department logos on the application was an oversight. However, both institutions were involved about the grant opportunity in a meeting which took place at City Hall.
The mayor of Joliet, Terry Darcy, demanded the smaller government body give back the money and says the city will not cooperate.
It's not tenable. We cannot do what the grant says. And I found out in the news like everyone else did. I had no knowledge this grant was being applied for.
Already, the city has withdrawn a township temporary lease to use a city facility to house illegal immigrant families. The township attorney said there was no final action on the grant on the agenda last night. A Chicago man is accused of firing gunshots outside of a police station, causing a crash that left 10 injured on the city's south side. Anthony Evans now faces several criminal charges, including aggravated battery and discharge of a firearm. One man is in custody after police said he shot at officers on the south side. This happened yesterday on a call of a suspicious person in the 6100 block of Southwood. Officers observed that person matching the description. The man produced a handgun and fired one shot at responding officers. The offender ran, then was arrested nearby. No officers were wounded. Charges are pending against a man who scaled the Accenture Tower in Chicago's West Loop. The man seen climbing the high-rise yesterday with videos and photos of the incident circulating on social media. Police called the incident a publicity stunt. Maison Deschamps has taken credit for the climb, a pro-life activist who goes by the name Pro-Life Spider-Man. He did so, he says, to raise money for pro-life causes. 10 people working at a Northwest Indiana fast food restaurant are accused of stealing customer credit card information and using the funds to release local inmates. All the defendants who worked at the Hardee's in Michigan City are charged with felony fraud and felony criminal organizational activity. One of the two biggest proposed carbon dioxide pipeline projects in the Midwest is now on hold, shut down, so the company can reevaluate the route and the project. Navigator CO2 Ventures has withdrawn its stalled application for a permit in Illinois and has put all other permit applications on hold while it reassesses the need for the project. Opponents promise to resume their fight if the company reapplies. A 104-year-old Chicago woman who made history after setting a world record as the oldest person to skydive has died. Dorothy Huffner passed away peacefully in her sleep on Monday. Her death came a week after she set the record after landing on the ground at Skydive Chicago Airport in Ottawa. The centenarian made her first skydive at the age of 100. The Blackhawks scored 3 goals in the third period in a 4-2 season-opening win over the Penguins in Pittsburgh. Hawks trailed by 2 in the second, But Ryan Donato and Cole Gutman both scored to tie the game. And by the middle of the third, Hawks knew they were in a contest. Connor Bedard notching a win in his first NHL contest.
Yeah, I think I'm always confident in myself, and there's going to be tough games, and I think it's obviously the best players in the world, best league in the world, and I think for me it's just trying to get better every shift, get better every game, but yeah, I thought I created a bid, and there's obviously things I can get better in, but it felt pretty good.
Good start for the Hawks. Jason Dickinson knocked in the go-ahead goal with under 5 left in regulation before Nick Foligno put the game away in the final 90. Blackhawks visit the Bruins tonight. American League Division Series baseball continued Tuesday. The Rangers complete a 3-game sweep of the Orioles. How'd they do that? 7-1 victory in Game 3 of the ALDS. Meantime, in Minnesota, the Astros took a 2-1 series advantage with a 9-1 takedown of the Twins at Target Field. The news service of Salem Surround. Go to surroundchicago.com today. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Daily Herald 2022 Best of the Fox winner for Best Financial Planner is Total Clarity Wealth Management. The 2022 Reader's Choice Award winner for Best Wealth Management Firm and Best Financial Planner is Total Clarity Wealth Management. Are you ready for a change? Choose Total Clarity Wealth Management. With a professional team of financial advisors and CPAs, they can show you the way to financial readiness and keep you on track. Their philosophy is built on solid relationships and trust, with access to expertise in tax planning strategies, 401k rollover services, estate planning, and more. They can help you be ready for anything.
Hi, this is Terry Murphy. The cornerstone of our practice has been to help clients stay focused on their goals throughout life's changes.
Get in touch with them at TotalClarityWealth.com. That's TotalClarityWealth.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Total Clarity Wealth Management Inc., a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial. Awards are based on number of reader votes. This award is not representative of the views of clients and is not indicative of future performance or services.
Hi, this is Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, with my current want list for upcoming auctions. Guns and military items are always at the top of my list, but I have buyers for vintage automobiles and motorcycles, old gas pumps and automotive signs. Do you have pinball machines and coin-operated games like slot machines, jukeboxes? How about Coke machines and soda machines? Also, neon signs, antique phonographs and music boxes, old toys, especially science fiction and Star Wars, cowboy and Native American collections like barbershop, ice cream parlor, and saloon items. We'll take one item or an entire collection. We sell it all. Call me before you sell your items outright, because you could be leaving a fortune on the table. And you won't know until you call me at 815-923-7000 or send me an email at DonnellyAuctions.com. My job is to get you top dollar for your collections, so call me at 815-923-7000. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
5:11 on AM 560, The Answer. Get an update on the roads, a service of Indeed.com. As the leaves change, leave the hiring to Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place, right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Inbound Eden's candidate Ike, all looking good. Stevenson already busy. Between Ashland and the Ryan merge, 22 in from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Little roadwork headache on the Tri-State southbound right at LaGrange Road until 6 a.m. Palatine, Grand Road, northbound between Hicks and Lake Cook Road shut down due to a bad accident. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Today, cloudy skies increasing. A couple of showers this afternoon, high 64. Rain and drizzle tonight with a low 55. Rain mainly early tomorrow, the high 61. Rain could be heavy on Friday, the high Friday at 65. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Right now it's clear across northern Illinois, but be aware rain is on the way for the next several days. 44 at O'Hare. 49 Lakefront, 44 at Midway. And your next news update is at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
You want your basement to be dry most of the time? If so, Permaseal is not the company for you. At Permaseal, we believe your basement should be dry all the time, no matter how hard it rains. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer, president of Permaseal. I've heard many homeowners say that their basement only leaks when it rains. Well, you don't worry about your living room or bedroom getting wet, so you should feel the same way about your basement. Call 800-421-SEAL. We offer a free estimate, no haggle pricing, and a price assurance guarantee so you can rest assured you're getting the best value. If you want your basement dry all the time, you know who to call, Permaseal. We've helped over 450,000 homeowners across Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana since 1979 and have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
Best for and better Permaseal.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
Are you looking for an interview podcast where you can be entertained and informed? Come check out our new podcast, America's Talking, to hear conversations with great stand-up comedians like Mark Normand.
Norm made you feel smarter than him, even though he was smarter than you.
As well as with leaders in the United States, like former Ambassador Andrew Bremberg.
I remember the fall of the evil empire. When the wall fell, every adult I saw was crying.
I'm your host, Austin Berg, and I want you to join the conversation on our new podcast, America's Talking, right now on Spotify.
Are you looking for a new podcast where you can get your national news from a taxpayer's perspective? Check out the America in Focus podcast featuring the Center Square's Dan McCaleb.
This jobs report, in some ways, it contradicts what I'm seeing anecdotally.
And Casey Harper.
And it's not just the economy. He has a 28% approval on the economy, but he also has 36% approval on foreign policy.
Find America in Focus wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe. That's America in Focus, a news podcast from a taxpayer's perspective.
Don't defund the police. Hire the police to protect your business. Rising crime has been crippling business owners in Illinois more and more in the past year. Blue Star Security can protect your most valuable asset, your business, to protect both you and your customers. Blue Star Security is the only security company in Chicago with over 500 off-duty police officers, all W-2 employees.
I'm Anthony Barchetto, president of Blue Star Security and a 20-year law enforcement veteran. Our team is exclusively state-certified active and retired law enforcement professionals who provide the highest standards in security. We serve Fortune 500 companies, as well as small businesses and individuals, responding rapidly and seamlessly to each assignment. Blue Star Security's technology allows mobilization of off-duty officers quickly and efficiently. Our primary mission is to provide unparalleled protective services for each assignment with integrity while maintaining our commitment to community service in the Chicagoland area.
Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at BlueStarSecurityLTD.com. That's BlueStarSecurityLTD.com.
I'm Shalom Klein. Join me each week for the Get Down to Business radio show. This show is packed with ideas that will inspire as you search for best practices to grow your business. Whether you are an experienced entrepreneur or just learning the ropes, Get Down to Business will tackle the issues affecting your everyday work life.
Get Down to Business is covered by Tom Mirabali, independent producer for Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois.
Listen each week to Get Down to Business with me, Shalom Klein. Heard Sunday afternoons at 6 right here on AM 560.
Raj Shah, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
You know, there are a lot of clients and people coming in from the radio into our office saying, I don't want to lose any money. I need to protect the money I have saved over the last 20 or 30 years, where you have strategies where you can structure an income stream where it has an inflation protection so that as inflation, if it continues to go up, your income will go up.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Freedom Square is an unbelievable service designed to unite freedom-loving Americans. I know these guys. They love their country and they're doing an amazing job. You can log on now to create your free personalized dashboard. All of your favorite news sites, podcasters, all on one site, all at your fingertips. Sign up your business right now at freedomsquare.com and start connecting with freedom-loving Americans. Look, people want businesses they can support. You want to know the good guys from the bad guys. That's freedomsquare.com. Log on right now and create your personalized dashboard. Join us in the fight, so check it out. freedomsquare.com. Freedom lives here.
Let's welcome our new Freedom Square Business Network members. Lore TV, DS Arms Lake Barrington, Villa Park Office Equipment, and Every Black Life Matters. It's time to unite and vote with your dollars. Download the Freedom Square app and register your business right now at freedomsquare.com and start connecting with patriots. Freedom Square. Freedom lives here.
This is Seth Liebson of 960thepatriot.com for Town Hall. What Hamas launched from Gaza last weekend should teach us all a lesson. Palestinian terrorism, as far back as 1968, taught the modern world the use of hijacking civilian airlines and the targeting of schools and civilians. This history runs exceedingly close to home. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the presidential candidate, saw his dad killed by a Palestinian because of his father's support for Israel. It's time for a moment of truth. If a startup nation were trying to model itself and its values based on America, it would look something very much like what Israel did 75 years ago this year. But there are forces of barbarism that despise exactly that and would rather live in medieval fundamentalism than in a modern world with respect for human rights and human dignity. Hamas has demonstrated its willingness to maim and slaughter to attain their goals. It's a problem of evil that needs to be solved once and for all. Hamas needs to be defeated and destroyed. I'm Seth Liebson.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. As we dissect everything that's transpired since the Hamas attack on Israel over the weekend, and you get into all of the cultural responses and the political responses, domestic political responses from the usual suspects in office, the geopolitical analyses from a lot of the usual suspects that the media taps to give you geopolitical analysis. We'll add some other people here who have a deeper knowledge of the region, the history, the dynamics than what you normally get on the cable news channels, which is banal and surface skimming at best. But before you even get to all that, especially a few days removed, I think you have to restate what we're talking about. Restate what actually happened. Because as everybody's interests collide, you have different storylines that develop about what happened, characterizing, contextualizing what happened, rather than just telling you, reminding you what happened, so that the response is consistent and proportional and morally balanced to what occurred. So Barry Weiss, who's the founder of the Free Press, former New York Times columnist, she was on MSNBC yesterday telling stories. But one of the things that you start with in the stories is a restatement of what occurred, the two sides, if you will.
The two sides in what just happened over the past 72 hours is the side of rapist, barbaric people who we are now learning beheaded babies versus innocent people. That is what is going on here. And anyone who is found cheering, celebrating in the streets of London or Paris or Berlin or New York or Sydney, where they are screaming, "Gas the Jews," they are not cheering for the liberation of the Palestinian people in Gaza who languish under the jackboot of Hamas. They are cheering for barbarism and bloodshed. And we should be absolutely clear about what is going on here.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
And again, just to provide some more detail to that crystallization you got from Barry Weiss, remember what occurred after the surprise attack, what those attackers, those terrorists did to not combatants, enemy combatants, not another military force, but to civilians they happened upon.
This is the biggest massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. But unlike the Holocaust, in which the Germans tried to hide their war crimes, it took the Allies, remember, years to uncover all that the Nazis did. Here we have people streaming it on real time, on TikTok, on live stream, and on Instagram. A message just went out to parents all over the state of Israel, begging them to delete the apps from their children's phones because Hamas has warned that it is going to live stream the execution of hostages, and they don't want their children seeing it.
And what they have already done, and I tweeted it out, but I had to delete the tweet because I had a lot of crazy Muslim followers. What they're doing is they're taking these young women, these gorgeous young women in the prime of their life who were kidnapped at the music festival, and butchering them, raping them so badly that they're bleeding between their legs, and putting that out on their own social medias through their cell phones. So yes, delete TikTok right now. Everyone should, because it's not only the children of Israel that are going to see it, it's all over the world. People are going to see this. The barbarism, the killing of the hostages that they have.
Why did you delete a tweet that described what occurred?
Oh, I showed it because there's a picture in the Israeli army of this beautiful young woman.
Why did you delete a
Hamas,
tweet?
I don't want any of that crap on me. I used to live in Detroit, and I used to have to cover those rallies with Hamas and Hezbollah and the Palestinians, and I'm done.
Okay.
Well, no. I started getting strange followers, and I blocked them, and then I deleted the tweet.
Okay. Barry Weiss telling stories that she got first person, talking to people in the aftermath. And again, the aftermath is not the aftermath for many families in Israel. One mother's story.
She asked that she remain anonymous because she is so scared that if her name is in public, it will make the lives of her children who are held hostage even worse. She was on the phone with her boys aged 12 and 16 as they hid in a safe room on another kibbutz at the south, a few kilometers from Gaza. And she heard her youngest child, 12 years old, begging not to be taken because he said that he is too young. And she wants the world to know that this is not about an occupation. Israel does not occupy Gaza. It has not occupied Gaza since it pulled out almost a decade ago, ruled by Hamas. She said, these are just teenagers like anyone's teenagers. I am just a mother like any mother who's watching this.
Of course, there are also acts of heroism, as there always are in moments of darkness the world over. And some of those stories need to be told, too. For example, Yaniv Sarundi picked up 9 people in his car during the invasion of southern Israel, drove them to an Israeli military outpost, tried to get them help. When he saw that Hamas had overrun that outpost, he drove through the gunfire to escape. He was injured by the terrorists, but managed to find a safe spot for everyone in his car to wait until Israeli forces showed up to rescue them 2 hours later. He died saving these strangers. Other examples. Amit Maan, a 21-year-old paramedic who went to a town near the border with Gaza, near the coast, during the attack. She spent 6 hours helping the wounded and hiding from the roaming Hamas forces. She reportedly texted her family. She didn't think she was going to survive, and she told them she loved them. Her last words, "They're on me. They shot my legs." You know, paramedics, regular people, concert goers, of course, as we all know by now, the slaughter that occurred at those concert goers.
And the power you could see. I mean, the power gliders coming in, too.
Itali and Hadar Berdichevsky. Itali and Hadar lived their 10-month-old twins 2 miles east of Gaza. When they saw Hamas forces coming toward their house, they hid the 2 babies and turned to fight the terrorists. They were killed, but the kids were found safe 12 hours later by Israeli forces and are currently safe with their grandmother. I think that couple who gave their lives to protect their babies.
Yeah.
I think that the father of one of them is a professor. Was he a retired professor at Brandeis? One of the stories, and I don't want to conflate the two, but one of the stories was a father who's an academic here, university on the East Coast. I think it's Brandeis. Was telling the story of what happened with his daughter and son-in-law and what they did to save their children. Elkanah Fetterman. She was at the concert where Hamas mowed down 260 terrified attendees who tried to flee over the open desert. She charged at the Hamas terrorists.
Good for her.
Grabbed a rifle from a fallen Israeli security guard at the event, started fighting back. Social media accounts are saying he hit a fair number of them, though I have no way there's no way to verify how many. But anyway, somebody that took the fight, knowing what the odds were as a civilian, grabbing a rifle and charging the invading terrorists. So I mean, just some of the stories of heroism amid all of this too. To remind you to have some faith in humanity, even as one's faith in humanity is shaken when you see the sort of medieval barbarism that has been described and continues to be described. At 5:38, we'll take your calls. We'll also get into some of the political and cultural responses now that they're pouring in, particularly after the big guy spoke about it yesterday.
Yeah, finally. And then meet an Israeli mom whose kids were abducted, and she has a message for MSNBC. It's wonderful. You have to hear it. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
44 degrees at 5:31. Dozens gather for worship and prayer in support of Israel and to support those impacted by the Hamas terror attacks. The attacks first hit a music festival in Israel, where Chicago mother Rachel Goldberg's son Hirsch was attending.
The first one said, "I love you," and immediately at 8:11 also it said, "I'm sorry."
Goldberg reading texts from her son. At that temple service, Rabbi Michael Weinberg spoke for many parents with family members caught in the crossfire of those brutal attacks.
She's staying with friends who have a safe room in their apartment because she doesn't have one in her apartment.
Rabbi Weinberg's daughter was at first unable to book passage home, but was finally able to get tickets for a weekend flight. Meantime, the governor is pledging Illinois support for Israel following the Hamas terror attacks. Pritzker said he has put the state police and law enforcement across the state on alert. Palestinians in the Gaza Strip scrambled today to find safety as Israeli strikes demolished Gaza neighborhoods. Israel vowing unprecedented retaliation against Hamas terrorists who control that Palestinian territory with an iron fist. after its fighters stormed a border fence Saturday and gunned down hundreds of Israelis in their homes, on the streets, and at an outdoor music festival. The war, which has already claimed at least 2,100 lives on both sides, is expected to escalate. President Biden is asking the Israeli Prime Minister to minimize civilian casualties. In the fourth day of conflict between Israel and Hamas, there have been over 2,000 deaths.
The United States has Israel's back. We will make sure the Jewish and democratic state of Israel can defend itself today, tomorrow, as we always have.
The U.S. will not confirm how many Americans are being held hostage by Hamas following that terrorist group's attack.
We mourn for all their lives, and we're actively working with Israelis to determine the whereabouts of the missing, including missing American citizens.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Meantime, Republican and Democrat lawmakers are introducing a bill today to provide $2 billion in aid for Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system. House Republicans are scheduled to vote today on a new speaker. The closed-door vote will come after Majority Leader Steve Scalise of Louisiana and Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan of Ohio audition for the job. Scalise says he wants to see a vote as soon as possible today.
There are things happening in the world that need to be addressed right now. We need to get back to work. The Senate needs to work too. But we're putting a strong coalition together. We're going to go get this done tomorrow, and the House is going to get back to work.
Some members have expressed concerns that Scalise, who is battling blood cancer, may not be an effective speaker. Others say they're already backing him because he is an effective fundraiser and is bringing the GOP together. Residents of Joliet Township packed Tuesday night's board meeting, rejecting the township's attempt to receive a state of Illinois asylum seeker grant. The $8.6 million in political money is supposed to help Joliet Township and other municipalities welcome illegal migrants.
We are unprepared of something that we didn't know about. So I'm here today to say, we should have had an idea. We should have known about it. We should have put a press release because it connects all people.
The mayor of Joliet, Terry Darcy, demanded the smaller government body give back the money and says the city will not cooperate.
It's not tenable. We cannot do what the grant says. And I found out in the news like everyone else did. I had no knowledge this grant was being applied for.
Already the city has withdrawn a township temporary lease to use a city facility to house illegal immigrant families. Charges are pending against a man who scaled the Accenture Tower in Chicago's West Loop. Man seen climbing the high-rise yesterday with videos and photos circulating on social media. Maison Deschamps has taken credit for the climb. The pro-life activist, who goes by the name of the pro-life Spider-Man, said he did so to raise money for pro-life causes. This morning, an Algonquin gymnast is a silver medal winner in an international tournament in Germany. 51-year-old Allison Wright competed in the balance beam during the Gymnastics Masters Team World Cup involving gymnasts ages 30 and up. Blackhawks get their first win on the NHL season in their first game, 4-2 victors over the Penguins in Pittsburgh. The news, a service of MyPillow and their six-pack bath towel sets. They're back in stock. The proprietary technology makes them extremely absorbent, yet still provides that soft feel you look for. Visit MyPillow.com, promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets.
It's not new. This attack has brought to the surface painful memories and the scars left by a millennia of antisemitism and genocide of the Jewish people. So in this moment, we must be crystal clear. We stand with Israel.
And what does we stand with Israel mean? Well, he explained that in part.
We're surging additional military assistance, including ammunition and interceptors, to replenish Iron Dome. We're going to make sure that Israel does not run out of these critical assets to defend its cities and its citizens. My administration has consulted closely with Congress throughout this crisis. And when Congress returns, we're going to ask them to take urgent action to fund the national security requirements of our critical partners.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. That's consistent with the rhetoric you heard from the other side, at least the other side in the Senate. Mitch McConnell, his op-ed in the Wall Street Journal the other day, in terms of the 4 steps for the U.S. to help Israel. First, distinguish between aggressor and victim. There's no both sides here, people that are calling for a ceasefire. Second, provide the specific capabilities and intel support Israel needs to target and destroy Hamas. Third, make America's national defense a priority. And finally, Iran. Indications the war was orchestrated with considerable assistance from Tehran. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, well, he didn't mention Iran at all during his brief speech yesterday, that we waited 4 days for him because he had to work 2 half days, Dan, on Sunday and Monday. Where we had the Prime Minister of the UK, he was out there right away. Was at a synagogue praying with people right away. I mean, we have 14 Americans killed, many still missing, 4 that we know of that are being held hostage, and a mom and daughter from Evanston still are unaccounted for.
Leibovitz, I mean, so those are fine words from President Biden, but yeah, then you have to look at the record and match it up with the rhetoric, the rhetoric after the fact. Leo Leibovitz, writing in Tablet. Hysterics about your political opponents being the enemies of democracy are fun, but there's a price to pay for abandoning the real world and indulging in fetish play. Isn't that what we've done in this country? The bigger mistake on the part of the Israelis is over the past few years, they've gotten the power equation that governs their lives backward. Instead of understanding themselves to be citizens of a strong but beleaguered country whose first responsibility is to protect itself, they luxuriated in the fantasy that the United States was and always would be their protector, when in fact the ruling party in America has decided that Israel is a liability. The stage for this attack was not set in or by Israel, it was set by the United States, writes Leibovitz. For the better part of the past decade, the United States has pursued a foreign policy designed to strengthen Iran, enable it to form a strong sphere of influence in the region. This is the so-called realignment, a new world order in which America partners with Iran in order to find a more stable balance of power that would make the Middle East less dependent on direct U.S. interference or protection. So Biden's words are belied by his choice for special envoy to Iran, who's been sidelined, but we'll get to that. Sidelined before the attack. Robert Malley is this guy's name. You know, your sort of prototypical Ivy League educated apparatchik. Think Jake Sullivan with less profile. Jake from the State Department. Here's Robert Malley in 2010 on Hamas. You know, the understanding of these terrorist organizations, or the characterization of them as more complicated than just being a terrorist organization, this is the point here, is really important. You put these people in positions of policy making when it comes to national security and geopolitical decisions, and then you wake up a decade later, after in your third term of the Obama regime, you wake up a decade later and you have a kind of violent scene in Israel that you haven't seen for decades, setting the stage, as Leibovitz would argue, setting the stage for what happened over the weekend. Robert Malley, special envoy to Iran. He's the point person negotiating the Iran nuclear deal, which is a glide path for a nuclear Iran, the leading state sponsor of terror in the world. And by the way, think about this also in the context of all this, you know, you have to believe people when they tell you who they are, kind of Dr. Phil rhetoric you're hearing across the board. And Hamas's, you know, stated objective is the eradication of the Israeli people. So's Iran's. So's Iran's. And what's the big guy been doing about that? Providing a glide path for nuclearization. Money for hostages that's used to fund terrorist activities. Robert Malley in 2010.
Hezbollah and Hamas, the two most prominent groups, although the Sadrists in Iraq also fall in that category. It's a mistake to only think of them in terms of their terrorist violence dimension. They're social political movements probably the most rooted movements in their respective societies. Hamas, not a majority among Palestinians by any means, but very deeply rooted. It's been, it was born in the first Palestinian Intifada in the 1980s. It has deep loyalty. It has a charity organization, a social branch. It's not something you can defeat militarily either, and people need to understand that. There's so much misinformation about them. I mean, I speak to them, and my colleagues speak to them. Now, we may disagree with them, but they have their own rationality. That's one thing to understand. None of them are crazies. They may do things that we consider to belong to a different realm of rationality, but within their own system, it's often very logical. If Hamas is not allowed to govern, if we squeeze them, and you may have good reasons for doing that, but if you do that, we'll tell you what the reaction will be. Rockets. No doubt. And consolidation of Hamas's power in Gaza. Both things have happened.
Yeah, they have. And treating Hamas like the Lions Club in the Middle East. It's a social organization. It's philanthropic. This is like
do some good work.
Larry Krasner, the DA in Philadelphia, talking about criminals who are mostly lawful. We have to distinguish between the real criminals and the mostly lawful. This is in law-abiding. This is the same thing that Robert Malley does on the international stage. We have to distinguish from real terrorist organizations to, mostly social and philanthropic organizations like Hamas that can be goaded into firing rockets, and he didn't say it, but I'll say committing terrorism. Goaded into. It's really important to understand the approach to these terrorist organizations and the differing approaches within our politics. Those kinds of statements, like you heard from Malley there, inform an entire administration's posture towards the leading state sponsor of terror in the world, who no doubt had a significant hand in planning that surprise attack over the weekend.
They've been working on it for months, maybe even years.
In addition to that, what was the initial response, even from the regime directly, not its sort of behind-the-scenes functionaries like Robert Malley? The initial response was Tony Blinken, the animatronic Secretary of State, to call for a ceasefire.
I know. Working with Turkish officials. I mean, we haven't even recovered bodies yet. I mean, it was only yesterday, mid-afternoon our time, that they found the babies that were beheaded and families that were slaughtered and tied up together in their homes. And they're asking for a ceasefire. We haven't even gotten the hostages back. I mean, come on. What is wrong with these people?
It's not about getting the hostages back. It's what it says about their understanding and their posture towards terrorism. That his statement, he's buttoned down. He's all Ivy League educated. Everybody's Ivy League educated. They're so smart, so brilliant. They're going to be the world's great peacemakers, reordering things based on their good intentions, alleged. That's calling for a ceasefire protects Hamas and guarantees more violence. It makes the two sides morally equivalent, which is why it was so important we started from the baseline, reminding people the baseline here, what we're talking about. What Blinken tweeted, and apparently it's the policy of this regime, despite the more fervent rhetoric from the big guy yesterday, feigning moral clarity. It's the same things that Tlaib and Ocasio-Cortez and Omar, the Socialist Spice Girls, the anti-Semitic Socialist Spice Girls said. The same thing. Ceasefire. By the way, at the state level here, find out if your legislator, your representative is on this list. The release that was sent out earlier this week by a dozen or so Democrat socialist legislators in Illinois, their call for de-escalation and peace. I'm sorry to see LaShawn Ford's name on that list, although friend of the show, but
shame on him. He should know better.
Anna Stava Murray
Oh, yeah.
in Naperville, Hello, Naperville. Hello, western suburbs. We will not be able to achieve peace when millions of Palestinians are denied basic human rights. We urge the U.S. and the international community to work toward long-term solutions that end the inequality and the root cause of violence. There we go again.
Yeah.
Carol Ammons, LaShawn Ford, Edgar Gonzalez, Norma Hernandez, Lillian Jimenez, Kevin Olakal, Aaron Ortiz, Abdel Nasser Rashid, Anastrava Murray, Nabella Syed, Senators, Lakeisha Collins, Mike Porfirio, Robert Peters, Rachel Ventura, Karina Villa, Ram Villavalam. These are Hamas apologists. That's what these legislators, right here. Geopolitical, let's talk about Iran, and let's talk about Hamas and Hezbollah and what the federal government is doing and what's being said and what Rashida Tlaib said. How about all the Rashida Tlaibs and Ilhan Omar in your General Assembly in Illinois?
And we can get started with the city council list, too, including your mayor, Brandon Johnson.
Rashida Tlaib, as long as our country provides billions in unconditional funding to support the apartheid government, this heartbreaking cycle of violence will continue. That's the same thing that these legislators are saying.
Yep.
Sickening. This is the fetish. Oh, it's so fun. The fetish politics. These people are terrorist enablers.
Well, they're sympathizers, yeah.
Does that? No, they're not sympathizers. They're terrorist enablers. They're running cover for people who beheaded babies. Does that start to register about the level of depravity here?
Raped women on social media. Killed them. And Rashida Tlaib, take down the Palestinian flag. And I love this reporter. We won't place him up, but she chased her down yesterday after, word spread, even from CNN. Yes, it wasn't just Fox News, that 40 babies were beheaded.
What Hamas has done, chopping off babies' heads, burning children alive, raping women in the street.
She's silent now. Why are you so quiet?
Comment about children's heads being chopped off. Congressman, why do you have the Palestinian flag outside your office if you do not condone what Hamas terrorists have done to Israel?
No comment. She always inserts herself in everything, and now it's like...
That was Fox News' Hillary Vaughn. Right. She hides behind statements that she issues, and then she ducks the cameras, depending on who the camera is, who's behind the camera, what news organization is behind the camera. Tom,
anybody just come out and say we were wrong and we shouldn't have had a pro-Palestinian rally?
Tom in Blue Island.
And Amy, Dan, Trump supporters are often referred to as isolationist. I want American troops there. And they can play second fiddle and just sit back and do what they're, whatever the protocol is in regard to the Israeli leadership. But that's a legitimate fight. American soldiers were killed. Women were, the description of what was done to these women and children, that's where American soldiers should be, not in amorphous wars other places.
I don't know that that's necessary. Thanks for the call, Tom, but he's right. 14 Americans dead, others still missing. Jackson Potter. Again, the faraway lands. How about right here in Chicago and Illinois? You want to think globally and act locally? We'll do it right here to the people that are running cover for Hamas. Jackson Potter at Chicago Teachers Union. Biden's stated support for Israel, as anemic as it is, this is his response. Biden's support for Israel, so your support for Israel, if you have it. And we'll be talking to Zuhdi Jasser at the bottom of the hour, bottom of the next hour, as well as Jonathan Greenberg at the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour on this. But Jackson Potter, Chicago Teachers Union. This is a bad signal to Israel to bomb Palestinian civilians with abandon and impunity. It's guaranteed that Palestinian casualties will exceed Israeli casualties within days, if not hours. That's been the overwhelming dynamic of the occupation. So that's one of the educators in Chicago, leading the union that has primary responsibility, certainly authority, over the education of 300,000 plus kids. And you wonder why you saw that disgraceful rally, hate-infused rally outside the Israeli embassy earlier in the week for the terrorists in Chicago.
Yeah.
You wonder why.
Byron Lopez, works for Mayor Johnson, one of the progressives.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Yeah. All of the heroes, all of your heroes, all of the SEIU purple people beaters that finance the Democrat socialist power structure at the state level and the city level, they're all out in force running cover for terrorists, for the butchery that has been described in painful detail over the last 96 hours. Coming up at 6:06, updating the situation on dispersing the migrants, including to Joliet Township, 6:06.
Today it's going to be a high of 64 degrees with some clouds and a couple of showers. It's now 6 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
Israel is at war a fifth straight day. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Hamas knows it's not going to win the war. It's trying to win a PR war.
Rudy Rochman's an Israeli reservist called up to fight and tells Fox.
It's intentionally placing its citizens in places where they're shooting rockets out of in order for Israel to defend itself and for casualties to go up.
As Israel faces another threat.
There are air raid sirens sounding along Israel's northern border with Lebanon. That follows the reports of an anti-tank missile fired by the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah that hit Israeli soldiers.
That's Fox's Trey Yingst on the border with Gaza, which Israel's now bombed more than 2,000 times since Saturday's terror attack.
It also creates a massive humanitarian crisis inside Gaza, with around 2 million people that live there. The majority of them are civilians, and their hospitals are already overwhelmed. They're running out of food and out of water.
More than 1,000 Palestinians reported dead in Gaza. 1,200 Israelis have been killed and 14 Americans. And some 20 more Americans are missing, feared to be among Hamas's hostages. A plane load of U.S. military aid arrived last night in Israel, and President Biden says more is coming.
We're going to make sure that Israel does not run out of these critical assets to defend its cities and its citizens.
The U.S. also keeps helping Ukraine battle Russia. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin meeting now with President Zelensky in Brussels. Fox's Jonathan Savage is there.
Secretary Austin will announce a package of aid, including air defense missiles, counter-drone systems, and more than 16 million rounds of small arms ammunition. But chaos in Congress is being noted by NATO members who hope American support isn't going to slip.
House Republicans could vote today on who could be the next speaker. Congressman Rich McCormick tells Fox.
I'm supporting Jim Jordan. That's a recent decision. You're actually the first people to know this. They don't even know that. Just listening to the debate, I thought he made a stronger case.
Steve Scalise also trying to be speaker. America's listening to Fox News.
44 degrees, 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Frost advisories are up this morning. Dozens gathered for worship and prayer in support of Israel and to support those impacted by the Hamas terror attacks. The first attack hit a music festival where Chicago mother Rachel Goldberg's son Hirsch was attending.
The first one said, "I love you," and immediately at 8:11 also it said, "I'm sorry."
Meantime, the governor is pledging Illinois' support for Israel following the terror attacks. Pritzker says he's put state police and law enforcement across the state on alert. Residents of Joliet Township packed Tuesday night's board meeting, rejecting the township's attempts to receive the state of Illinois asylum seeker grant. The $8.6 million in political money is supposed to help Joliet Township and other municipalities welcome illegal migrants.
We are unprepared of something that we didn't know about. So I'm here today to say, we should have had an idea. We should have known about it. We should have put a press release because it connects all people.
Facing an angry public for the first time, Joliet Township Supervisor Angel Contreras admitted the inclusion of the city of Joliet and Joliet Fire as cooperating with the grant application was an oversight.
The inclusion of the city of Joliet and Joliet Fire Department logos on the application was an oversight. However, both institutions However, institutions were involved about the grant opportunity in a meeting which took place at City Hall.
The mayor of Joliet, Terry Darcy, disagrees and demanded the smaller government body give back the money and says the city will not cooperate. Mayor Brandon Johnson is set to unveil his first spending plan today under intense pressure, not only to close a $538 million gap in the city's 2024 budget, but also to make good on campaign promises to invest in mental health and his defund the police approach to public safety, while facing a police department with 1,700 vacant positions. Blackhawks score 3 goals in the third in a 4-2 season-opening win for Connor Bedard and the Hawks over Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think I'm always confident in myself, and there's going to be tough games, and I think it's obviously the best players in the world, best league in the world, and I think for me it's just trying to get better every shift, get better every game, but yeah, I thought I created a bid, and there's obviously things I can get better in, but it felt pretty good.
The former #1 pick notching an assist and a win in his first NHL contest. Hawks visiting the Bruins later tonight. The news, a service of Tom Mirabali Insurance with access to many major medical carriers. Let Tom help you save money on your premiums and get started at healthplanchicago.com. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
Are you looking for an interview podcast where you can be entertained and informed? Come check out our new podcast, America's Talking, to hear conversations with great stand-up comedians like Mark Normand.
Norm made you feel smarter than him, even though he was smarter than you.
As well as with leaders in the United States, like former Ambassador Andrew Bremberg.
I remember the fall of the evil empire. When the wall fell, every adult I saw was crying.
I'm your host, Austin Berg, and I want you to join the conversation on our new podcast, America's Talking, right now on Spotify.
Are you looking for a new podcast where you can get your national news from a taxpayer's perspective? Check out the America in Focus podcast featuring the Center Square's Dan McCaleb.
This jobs report, in some ways, it contradicts what I'm seeing anecdotally.
And Casey Harper.
And it's not just the economy. He has a 28% approval on the economy, but he also has 36% approval on foreign policy.
Find America in Focus wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe. That's America in Focus, a news podcast from a taxpayer's perspective.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Solid traffic on the inbound Kennedy now, 36 in. O'Hara into the Burns Circle interchange and climbing, especially heavy Nagel into Montrose. The Ike 38, 390 into the old post office. Stevenson 36 in climbing into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan 18 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Watch out in the roadwork zone. Heavy traffic, DuSable Lakeshore Drive, northbound between Science Drive and 57. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, increasing cloudiness, showers and high 64. Rain and drizzle tonight, though 55. Rain mainly early in the day for tomorrow, the high 61. Rain could be heavy Friday, the high 65. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
43 at O'Hare. It is 28 this morning in Aurora. And your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Scheinman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the continued efforts afoot to deal with the repercussions of being a sanctuary city, county, state in Illinois. You know what Governor Jellybelly wants to do? He wants to socialize the self-inflicted problem, because that's what we do in Illinois. That's Chicago taught us all how to do it.
Yeah, you got to step up. You got to do your part. You got to help out.
Socialize the problems you create so they become everybody's problems, even though they were instigated by you. So that means Chicago land, not Chicago. A Chicago problem is a Chicago land problem. A Cook County problem is a Chicago land problem, which includes, at minimum, the collar counties. Especially when there's political heat within city proper, and mayor and alderhumans want to diffuse some of that heat because it's coming from their base constituents, like in Galewood and that Amundsen Park location to host migrants. Now that's allegedly on hold. They didn't win anything. They didn't win anything.
They get to have their games tonight that they weren't scheduled to have.
That's on hold. You know, a temporary reprieve is not a win. I mean, I guess we might as well redefine winning, because we redefine everything else in Chicago. We'll see.
Well, he catered to the black community, but then when white people and Hispanics complain, you know, like the Broadway Armory, we get nowhere. But if you piss off the black people, then he'll help you out. That's what I learned. We have 7 parks now that are filled with migrants. Everybody should have a rally. Everybody should fight back now, because they did. The black community did it so beautifully. They were in his face. They spoke directly to him at every press conference, and he catered.
Really? South Shore, too? South Shore's off?
South Shore, no. They were one of the first ones to fold.
Is Hyde Park off?
Which one? Hyde.
So no, it's not. It's not off, and it's not going to be off, because what was the plan? 2 acres in every ward.
Right.
Has that changed? So, again, a temporary reprieve in Galewood, well, let it breathe a little bit.
All right.
These guys are, operating by the seat of their pants, trying to diffuse political pressure where they can, and then they will return, as they always do. Oh, no, we're fine now. Whoever believes that knows nothing about how the power structure in this city and state operates. Oh, no, we're fine. We had a big rally. The older human got involved. We put the kids out front and center. We got some media coverage, and then they relented. For now, everything's fine. Is it? You really think so? As busloads continue to come into Illinois and into Chicago.
Sure, 4 yesterday.
You go ahead and be that Pollyannish. That's what they're counting on. In Joliet, the same thing happened. And this doesn't look like a victory to me either, at least not yet. Joliet Township, remember, they took $8.5 million from Jelly Belly to help socialize the problem that we've all inflicted upon ourselves, by the way. This is a little bit different because the entire state socialized this problem voluntarily through a Republican governor who, by the way, let's not forget, Bruce Rauner, who signed the sanctuary state designation. And all these legislators who went along all over the place. Your Dem socialists in the suburbs who also double as terrorist enablers, we were just talking about. Your Rachel Venturas and your Anastasia Murrays. Well done, Western Burbs. Well done, Will County. I appreciate Joliet Township's rebellion against bringing migrants into their community and what $9 million is going to finance and how this is all going to work, and the fact that it was done surreptitiously and now it's being represented dishonestly by the Joliet Township Supervisor, Angel Contreras. You'll hear from in a second. But let's just remember what we've done to ourselves, because I don't want to walk past that. The policymakers, suburban residents have chosen. Like Angel Contreras, like Rachel Ventura. Contreras yesterday at their township meeting discussing the matter.
The purpose of this grant was to help our community partners who serve individuals beyond the township, county, and city boundaries. This is a reactive request grant to address current issues. It was not intended to bring more people into our areas.
Oh, lies.
That's wild.
That is just...
The grant is specifically for migrants bringing new people to your area. Did we just say, no, this grant was for extension services, working in collaboration with the social service community?
It's laughable.
I mean, you just lie to your face, because why wouldn't they? What political price do they pay in Chicago and Chicagoland? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
And if you were at the meeting last night, we'd love to hear from you.
The only time you get some daylight is when you have another Politico call out their fellow Politico. And that happened last night, with Joliet Mayor Terry Darcy, who said, not exactly, Mr. Contreras.
It's done without our knowledge, and we can't sustain the grant as it was written. So it's just not tenable.
Not tenable is a little mild, but at least you've got some sort of open disagreement that perhaps will make some people question, wait, so if the mayor doesn't agree with the supervisor, maybe I need to scratch below the surface a little bit and try to figure out what's actually going on here. So, I mean, Pritzker makes this grant money available for the specific purpose of dealing with the migrants being bussed here. And Angel Contreras just says, no, it's not for that. We took the money, but it's not for that.
Then what's it for?
You just heard him.
Yeah, no.
It's to
I want
help
more details.
Social service providers provide, the wraparound services for our community residents. Now everybody go home and stop paying attention. Tina and Joliet, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Okay, that was the closest to a Jerry Springer episode I will ever have been anywhere near. It was insane. First of all, they had to move the location of the meeting. The police had to block off traffic. Oh my God. It was packed, standing room only. There had to have been 350 people there. And I signed up to speak along with several other candidates who are actually running for Republican office. And people, for the most part, I would say everybody was very respectful. They were just mad. And the board, of course, they didn't answer any questions. They sat there with their legal counsel. They read statements, but really it was what they were doing was just letting us vent so that they could turn around and say, well, we let the community say what they had to say.
Exactly.
This grant, this will be a travesty. They will slap every resident of Joliet in the face if this goes through. That community came out, and it was, I would say it was 50-50 black and white. There was, a smattering of Latinos there who also spoke and are against this. And what I brought up at the meeting when I signed up to spoke, because not everybody's read this grant. They don't realize it's available publicly now. The city, for something that's supposed to be temporary and transient, and we're just supposed to help these folks get on their feet, the city, or that grant specifies that they want to hire 17 new staff who will also get full taxpayer-funded benefits and pensions. 17. Does that sound temporary to anybody? That's ridiculous. And one of the missions of the Spanish Community Center, they'll be providing paralegals and staff who will help expunge criminal records of asylum seekers so that it doesn't interfere with their quest to relocate to America. It's nobody is.
Oh, really? So now you have township government serving as immigration attorneys. Providing free counsel and to migrants with their asylum applications and so forth, in addition to, of course, creating more flunky jobs at the township for fiefdom building purposes. Oh, perfect.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Tina. Though I'll say the same thing about Joliet Township that I said about Gale Wood or South Shore. 300 people. They're ornery. They're upset. They're giving their politicians the what for at one meeting. And then this is a slap. If this goes forward, this will be a slap in the face to all the residents of Joliet Township. I mean, the residents there like to be slapped in the face, just like the residents in almost every other part of the state.
Well, let me say this. What also came out in this is, so Will County, we're a microcosm of Cook County at this point. The corruption runs very deep, and there's a whole bunch of CYA happening over here. And
Sure.
I FOIA'd the township office, and at first I didn't see what I was looking for, but then I found it. There's a woman by the name of Christy McNichol who clearly assisted with this grant. She was hired by the city of Joliet to do grant writing. She was also involved in a no-bid $500,000 contract for the Veterans Affairs Commission, which ended up costing her her job because that money could not be accounted for. The work that was supposed to be produced for that grant was not accounted for. And the woman she hired was her buddy. And so she lost that role, got picked up by the city, along with another flunky who got kicked off of the Veterans Board. So these people,
Is that the same Christy McNichol that was in Empty Nest with Richard Mulligan?
No.
Oh, because I liked her.
That's good though.
Yeah.
Not asleep at the wheel.
So without getting into all the personnel and the local corruption, because you start peeling back those layers, we'll be here all morning. In Will County and DuPage County, everywhere. That's the point that a lot of people don't want to confront. What do you really think is going to happen in Joliet Township? Do you think that Contreras and the others that tried to slip this past the goalie are now going to relent?
Here's what I think. I think this grant will be withdrawn. First of all, he committed fraud on this grant. And somebody needs to pursue that. And we also have the support of the mayor and the city council. They've come out swinging about this. But as Mayor Darcy said at the council meeting, yes, he'll probably withdraw this, but he'll come back with another one.
Exactly.
You're right. They won't relent. So we are going to have to keep the pressure on them. One more thing, Rachel Ventura,
State Senator
Rachel Ventura, and Hamas supporter, she snuck into the meeting late last night as well. And I spoke for a few minutes and I meant to call her out and I forgot. But everybody needs to be aware that this woman has posted on social media her unwavering support for Palestine in the hours after tremendous tragedy in Israel. That moron was posting about occupation and how the Palestinians are oppressed. That's who she is. These people have got to be removed.
Thanks for the call, Tina. George, Naperville.
Yeah, they use this beautiful word sanctuary. This has to be labeled something else. You know, just like Black Lives Matter. It sounds so beautiful, but what it really is horror.
Thanks for the call, George.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm Dave Nissen, CEO of PKF Mueller. As a CPA firm, we have been serving our business clients since 1968 by providing audit, accounting, tax, advisory, and consulting services. We as trusted advisors go beyond what our clients hired us to do by thinking outside the box to understand their operations and industry. We want to discover ways to increase their net income and cash flow by reducing costs or increasing efficiencies. To this end, PKF Mueller provides several client value-added services through strategic relationships. Our partners are specialists and serve the same type of clients that we do and add value by reducing our clients' overall electric and gas costs, discovering inaccuracies and overcharges on utility bills, assisting in financing of real estate, and helping to reduce uncollectible accounts and bad debt expenses. To learn more about our value-added service providers and how we can assist, call me directly at 630-524-5274 or dnissen@pkfmueller.com.
By the way, I do have to get in a comment that your buddy Andre Vasquez made.
Oh, after that BLM Chicago posted a picture of, it says, I stand with Palestine. No. What? Well, that's what he's.
Go ahead.
No, the I stand with Palestine. Chicago Black Lives Matter posted it.
Yeah. We'll get to Black Lives Matter. We're talking about migrants. I'm talking about the city.
Yeah, he's in charge.
Yeah. We are seeing people in communities that have been plagued by disinvestment now saying the same thing you would hear at a Trump rally. Oh, it's so interesting. Such an interesting statement. First of all, they haven't been plagued by disinvestment, those neighborhoods. The people may have, but not the neighborhoods, because you fund bureaucracy and connected developers and so forth. You don't fund people. That's just a big lie that the left tells. But now saying the same thing you would hear at a Trump rally. Right. Yeah, they are. Saying commonsensical things about the rule of law and about how elected representatives should use scarce taxpayer dollars for the benefit of American citizens and legal residents. Saying the same thing at a Trump rally. Exactly. Exactly right. They are. Commonsensical things about how a free society should be ordered. Come on over to the Trump rally. Since Andre Vasquez doesn't want you, black and brown people in Chicago who are starting to think independently, at least on this issue. Do you really want to take shots the rest of your life just to lose weight? NJ Diet's typical results are twice as fast in weight loss injections and without any of the side effects. Plus, you learn proper portion control and develop healthy eating habits for the rest of your life. By the end of NJ Diet's 40-day program, you'll lose 20 to 40-plus pounds, contractually guaranteed. You lose the weight and keep it off the natural way. NJ Diet uses your hair, saliva, and blood work, along with scans to personalize natural solutions and supplements that get your body into the fat-burning zone. Then NJ Diet uses your DNA info to help keep the weight off. NJ Diet has locations locally in Skokie and Oak Brook, or is available with live online video consultations. Don't take shots the rest of your life. Lose weight quickly the natural way with NJ Diet. Call 855-5-NJ-DIET. Or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Identity theft shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, more than $29 billion were stolen last year alone. That's a criminal success story and a wake-up call for everyone else. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. LifeLock makes it easy to help protect yourself if you become a victim. A dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. Join now and save up to 25% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code at LifeLock.com, promo code Clay.
Are you a business owner or department head already planning for 2024? Well, if you're like most businesses in the Chicagoland area, you've probably had a challenging year with sustaining revenue, hiring new recruits, and keeping operating costs at bay. Maybe you've had a great year and want to build the momentum in the months to come. Whether your business faces obstacles like financial setbacks, fierce competition, IT nightmares, or unforeseen crisis, it's not about the challenges you face, it's how you overcome them and the people you partner with. With decades of C-suite experience from their consulting team to over 25 years of managed IT services, Turnkey knows small business. They know how to reduce your costs, grow new revenue streams, and more importantly, they have to hire on-site professionals. They can help you with that. Set yourself and your business up for success. Let Turnkey show you how. Turnkey is Chicago's small business champion. Visit turnkey.pro and start a conversation today. That's turnkey.pro.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Muslim perspective on the Hamas attack. Our friend Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, at 6:36.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
43 degrees at 6:31. Frost advisories are up. Dozens gathered for worship and for prayer in support of Israel and to support those impacted by the Hamas terror attacks. First attack hit a music festival where former Chicago mother Rachel Goldberg's son Hirsch was attending.
The first one said, "I love you," and immediately at 8:11 also it said, "I'm sorry."
Meantime, the governor is pledging Illinois' support for Israel following the Hamas terror attacks, putting state police and law enforcement across the state on alert at synagogues and other Jewish gathering places. Dozens of hostages remain held by Hamas militants, including a family of Yanni Asher, an Israeli, speaking to Fox News.
You know, our whole people is in a difficult situation. We try to give hope and be united, and I believe that we will make it through.
He says a video shows his wife and two young daughters being taken away in the back of a pickup truck. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says there are 20 or more Americans missing. American Galia Marazi is among the devastated families awaiting word.
And then the last message we got from them was, "We don't want to die. We're afraid to die. Come help us."
At least 14 Americans have already been killed. In other news we're following this morning, another earthquake hit Afghanistan today, just after two large quakes in the same region killed 2,000. There's growing optimism that congressional Republicans will pick a new speaker. The GOP set to hold a closed-door vote today between frontrunners Steve Scalise and Jim Jordan. It's a big deal in the oil business. ExxonMobil buying Pioneer Natural Resources in an all-stock deal valued at $59.5 billion. Exxon's largest buyout since acquiring Mobil 2 decades ago. Residents of Joliet Township packed Tuesday night's board meeting rejecting the township's attempts to receive the state of Illinois asylum seeker grant. The $8.6 million in political money is supposed to help Joliet Township and other municipalities welcome illegal migrants facing an angry public for the first time. Township Supervisor Angel Contreras.
The Spanish Community Center has already documented at least 2,200 people seeking assistance through their organization since last year. Similarly, Will Grundy Medical Center has seen an increase in demand for their services, and local food pantries have been under strain.
The mayor of Joliet, Terry Darcy, demanded the smaller government body give back the money and says the city will not cooperate.
It's not tenable. We cannot do what the grant says. And I found out in the news like everyone else did. I had no knowledge this grant was being applied for.
The township attorney said there was no final action on the grant on the agenda last night. Mayor Brandon Johnson set to unveil his first Chicago spending plan today while under intense pressure not only to close a $538 million gap in the city's 2024 budget, but also to make good on his campaign promises to invest in mental health and his defund the police approach to public safety while facing a department with 1,700 vacant positions. Blackhawks put Game 1 of the NHL season in the win column, 4-2 over the Penguins in Pittsburgh. The news service of the Fireplace and Chimney Authority, Chicagoland's largest and most respected fireplace and chimney company. Call to schedule your appointment today, 630-279-8500, or visit their showrooms in Lisle and Elmhurst. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Best Dental Group of Bartlett, the Illinois Family Institute, and by Alpha Wealth Group.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Stop overpaying for wireless. There is a better way. Pure Talk saves the average family about $1,000 a year on the most dependable 5G network in the U.S. You can get unlimited talk, text, and plenty of high-speed data for just $30 a month. If you're ready to cut your wireless bill in half, dial pound 250 and say keyword spend less, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250 and say spend less, and make the switch to Pure Talk today.
Are you a driver of a Ford Powerstroke diesel engine? Tired of taking your Ford Powerstroke diesel in to be misdiagnosed or paying for repairs that don't fix the problem? Well, bring your vehicle to the diesel headquarters, Remke's Garage. The shop is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. Remke's Garage specializes in Ford Powerstroke, Chevy Duramax, Dodge Cummins, Mercedes Sprinter, and Isuzu diesel engines and transmission repairs. At Remke's, they'll make your vehicle repairs convenient by offering a free commercial loaner vehicle.
Remke's Garage, where you won't spend $1,000 to fix a $100 problem. Call for details and to schedule an appointment at 800-5-REMKES or visit remkesgarage.com. Remke's Garage, your diesel headquarters.
Eating balance of nature, fruits and veggies, is not replacing the fruits and vegetables in your diet. It is fruits and vegetables in your diet. Ask yourself, how many servings of fruits and vegetables have I eaten today? Have you eaten 1, 2, 3, and from how many varieties? Most people are less than 3. Our body is an amazing chemical laboratory, and when you give it the right chemistry, it functions the best. Balance of Nature is 31 different fruits and vegetables prepared in a way to give you the ultimate whole fruit and vegetable chemistry. Let Balance of Nature help you supplement your fruit and vegetable intake for a lot less money and a lot less work and a much higher quality of life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Exergen thermometers are a top choice of medical professionals at highly ranked hospitals across the U.S. Accuracy matters, so make Exergen the chosen thermometer for your home and family.
6:38. Let's get a quick update on the roads, a service of Wendy's, and try Wendy's new pumpkin spice frosty today. It's peak fall. It'll make any kind of fall fun even fallier. So no matter how you fall, grab a rich, creamy pumpkin spice frosty from Wendy's today. By the way, the vanilla frosty is temporarily unavailable. Eden's 27 Lake Cook Road into the junction. The Kennedy at about 55, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Delays on the Dan Ryan coming in, 24 minutes. 95th into the Burns Circle. You're jammed inbound between the Bishop Ford, I-57 split, and the Skyway. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds on the increase. We'll see showers by the afternoon and a high of 64. Rain and drizzle overnight, low 55. Rain throughout the day tomorrow, high 61. It's 43 at O'Hare, 28 in Aurora. And your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The peace process in the Middle East. This is what a lot of those who are terrorist enablers or worse are using as part of their cover story for the atrocities that were committed by Hamas against the Israeli people over the weekend. For example, Abbas, Mahmoud Abbas, Palestinian Authority president, saying that Saturday's surprise attack was the Palestinians asserting their right to self-defense.
Yeah.
Hussam Zomlot is the head of the Palestinian diplomatic mission to the UK. He sat down with Christiane Amanpour on CNN. Painful. But it's not what she said or the poor quality of her interviewing skills. It's what he had to say in terms of understanding the storytelling that they do, one, to separate themselves from Hamas. And I understand there are a lot of peaceful Palestinian people. They want no part of Hamas. I get it. But there are all these essentially political officials who wink and nod with one another on the terrorist activities of Hamas and others. We've seen this before, particularly as it pertains to Israel. So here's what Mr. Zomlot had to say about how we got to that day, Saturday. Doesn't condone it, but he tries very hard to contextualize it in a way that sounds sort of like condoning it.
Bring in Hussam Zomlot now. He's head of the Palestinian mission to the UK. Welcome to the program. First and foremost, do you condemn what Hamas did inside Israel to Israeli civilians? There are dead and there are hostages.
First and foremost, the Western media must really abandon this framework that has gotten us to where we are today.
Okay, but I just want to know, do you support the killing of civilians?
Of course not. Of course not. Of course not.
So do you condemn that?
The loss of civilian life is tragic in all sides. And what is happening is extremely worrying and very tragic. And as we speak, the loss of lives, you've counted 70 Israeli deaths. There is more than 200 Palestinian deaths so far, more than 1,600. Entire residential compounds are being wiped out. This is a war crime committed by Israel. What is more tragic, or equally tragic, is the blindness and the deafness of the world and the international community for so many years, of the warnings we have been saying that this was coming. Israel knew that this was coming their way. We, the National Movement of Palestine, the PLO, have found a different path 30 years ago. We have committed to what the world asks us: recognize Israel, commit to negotiations and nonviolence, and to international legitimacy and resolution. Israel was expected to do one thing only: roll back its occupation, stop its colonial settlement expansion. Not one day it did so, killing the prospects of a two-state solution.
Making morally equivalent the terrorist attacks to the response to the terrorist attacks, you see. Also, just in case there's any doubt that that's what he's doing, listen to this statement.
There's a war. You see, we're having this conversation because Israelis have seen what they have seen today, but my people see this every day, every single day. Palestinians are targeted, killed, arrested, surrounded, their land is confiscated, their holy places are desecrated. Not only Muslims, but Christians. You have been following what is happening in the Al-Aqsa Mosque and in our Christian churches, the spitting on Christian worshippers. Our people have been seeing apartheid being enforced on them over the last years, and the land is being taken, and the hope for a political solution that will fulfill their rights dissipating. And therefore, this is what we need to discuss.
Really, it's happening to the Palestinians every day, and people.
Can we see video of it? I mean, they put up war crimes all over social media.
People are ignoring the beheading of children at the hands of Israelis. Really? Eugene Konorovich is a law professor at George Mason University. False doctrines of international law have given the terror group, Hamas, an insurance policy. No matter what atrocities they commit against Israel, they will come out of any conflict with no less territory than before. They may lose men, but they gain gruesome honor. Hamas's war aim isn't to minimize its own casualties, but to drive out the Jews. To defeat and discredit its leadership, the Palestinians must pay a permanent territorial price, he argues. Israel is fighting the clearest possible war of self-defense. Its 1967 capture of the Golan Heights buffer zone was legitimate and humiliated the regime of Hafez al-Assad. Israel has every right to annex buffer zones in Gaza permanently after abdicating more than a decade ago. For more on this, pleased to be joined by Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, co-founder of the Muslim Reform Movement, former U.S. Navy lieutenant commander, and he's a medical doctor, which is why we're calling Dr. Jasser. He's also the author of A Battle for the Soul of Islam. Dr. Jasser, it's been a minute. Good to talk to you again.
It's great to you, and unfortunate in this horrific situation, but thanks for having me.
So, what was your reaction to what Mr. Zumlaut, the head of the Palestinian diplomatic mission to the UK, had to say about what transpired over the weekend and the larger context of the ongoing conflict between Palestinians and Israelis?
I mean, not only is his response pathetic, you have to understand that it's clear from his response that he is actually relishing the attention that his movement is getting now as a result. If anything, he's not only supporting Hamas, but supporting these acts of terror, the horrific aggression that Hamas did against innocent civilians. And the bottom line is that they are relishing in this. This war of aggression is intentional to get sort of their nihilistic approach of the Islamists. And whether, there's two factions in the Palestinian movement that are radical. One is the Islamist that works with the global jihadis from Iran to the Muslim Brotherhood to the Shia militias now that are speaking with them. And the other is the Palestinianists, if you will, the national fascists of the Palestinian movement that are anti-Semitic, just like any Arabist, like Assad, Saddam Hussein were. Those are not necessarily jihadists, but they work hand in hand with them, and they will do anything and sacrifice their own people in order to promote their own form of fascism, which is Palestinianism. So their people are fodder for that. And I have to tell you, one of them, I can't tell you how much disappointment there is. I look at the U.S. Coalition Council of Muslim Organizations based out of Chicago and Washington, which is a leadership organization of Muslim groups, put out a press release 3 days ago as the war of Hamas against Israel was slaughtering Jewish citizens in Israel, saying that they have sympathy for the Palestinian movement, said nothing about the terrorists, nothing about what that's actually doing to Palestinians. So we're seeing overt support of Hamas by mosques across the country under the rubric of the Muslim Brotherhood movement of the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations, and it's just pathetic. The moral injustice in their stance is embarrassment to our faith, embarrassment to America, and is really a vacuum that the Biden administration created by emboldening the likes of Ilhan Omar and we saw the Black Lives Matter movement yesterday come out very much supporting. They called the Hamas act an act of self-defense. And so you see this coalition globally of the red-green axis of the Marxists and the Islamists from Chicago to Pakistan working together now against Israel as we sort of stand back and Biden in his basement watching the match he lit cause a war in the Middle East.
Just a little bit of a backgrounder, because this may be confusing to some people that don't have the knowledge on the topic that you have. So, all this talk about Iran providing planning and resources for this terrorist attack committed by Hamas. But people say, well, wait a second, Dr. Jasser, Iran is Shia and Hamas is Sunni. I thought these sects were in opposition to one another.
Yeah, that's a great question. The bottom line is that within the Islamic faith, there's a global political movement in which the Islamists seek to create Islamic states where the Quran is the constitution. It's a theocracy. So when the Muslim Brotherhood took over Egypt, those were Sunnis, but they wanted to have the Quran be the constitution and the theocrats, the men in beards, create a draconian theocratic state, which is what happened for a year and a half. The Khomeinis in Iran are Shia, but they have that same flavor. Call it Pepsi versus Coke of jihadism. It's two different flavors or sects, but they ultimately want the same thing, which is a theocratic state. Turkey is run by Erdogan. His party is a theocratic movement, so it has taken over Turkey, no longer a democracy, but an Islamist movement. So that stands in difference to the Saudi Arabias of the world, the military dictatorships of Sisi in Egypt, which are secular dictatorships, but they dabble in Islamic law to sort of appease these Islamic movements. So bottom line is sometimes they can be at each other's throats, and other times they create common enemies, especially what Iran or Muslim Brotherhood called the Great Satan, which is America, and the Little Satan, which is Israel. But at the end of the day, this is why we need to stand for truth. This is why American Muslims need to lead sort of the moral clarity. And unfortunately, the vast majority of organizations speaking on behalf of our faith are Hamas, ISIS apologists rather than actually standing with moral clarity.
Well, there's, obviously the Gaza Strip is under siege and the civilians, the Palestinians, want to escape and get out. But why isn't Egypt letting them come into their country?
This is the question of why every war that happens, you find the reality. And by the way, why did this start right now? It's not just about the Palestinians and about Hamas and their jihadism. It's about the accords that were starting to normalize relations with Israel, with the Saudis, with Bahrain, with the Emirates. This is what they wanted to derail and stop and bring attention, regardless of how violent it is, to the plight of the Palestinians. So they do not want this peace accords. And at the end of the day, it's the dictatorships in Egypt and Saudi. They don't want to take care of the Palestinians. It's not about human rights to them. It's about transactional improvement. It's about maintaining their own control and power. So this is why, yes, the Abraham Accords were steps forward, but internally these countries are not about human rights, and that's why we have to be the beacon of hope and stand with our ally, the only democracy in the Middle East, which is Israel, because we have a society that not only supposedly preaches liberty abroad, but enacts it domestically.
Well, so then what impact do you think this will have on the rapprochement between Israel and the Saudis, which, as you say, Iran and Hamas are trying to derail?
Well, I think in the short term, that's going to be completely on hold and nothing's going to advance. The Saudis' initial comment was embarrassingly anemic.
Well, that's so what you've seen sort of is the Arab world rally around Hamas, or at least be apologists for them, haven't you?
Not they have, but gosh, I mean, this is such a low standard. If you compare its response to the response of every other war the Islamists have started, this is probably the most anemic ever. So, I do think that they're losing a lot of the street cred that they had, and that's why you're finding the radical apologetics that are happening now increasing, and they're taking the friends where they can, whether it's Marxists or whatever, because their old friends, the Arab axis, the Gulf axis, is far more quiet. They're not sending right now. The financing of Hamas is coming from Qatar, Turkey, and Iran. That's it. The Saudis have not been funding them. And so regardless of the words, Hamas knows, the Palestinian radicals know that are running that place, that they're not getting the financial support, and they can't continue this type of war long without continued fuel with arms and, a lot of the, the $6 billion ransom that the Biden administration paid for hostages in Iran was ultimately fueling this.
Yeah, that's where I was just going to go. Well, they have the United States indirectly financing them right now, from between weapons from the Afghanistan withdrawal that were left behind to the cash for hostages. So I suppose they don't need the Saudis at this point, at least with this administration.
Exactly. And that's why, as this unfolds, the Abraham Accords, at least the countries that began to have the rapprochement and peace with normalizing relations with Israel will probably move forward. But the Biden administration wouldn't even use the words Abraham Accords because they were so obsessed pathologically with being anti-Trump that they wouldn't even use those words. And Hamas saw that as a green light, because not only were they seeing billions going to Iran that was giving them the fuel to set up the missiles and the ability to breach the wall and other things that they did in the surprise attack this weekend, but they realized that same government would not fight a war with Israel, would not stand with its ally, because it created this situation. And they said, we want to get this done because the administration may change next November, and this is exactly why Israel is suffering right now. And to see the Biden administration say, we stand by our ally, we're not idiots. We know that the complete implosion of the Middle East is because of the absence, the appeasement that this administration has done in what used to be an American strength across the world by peace through strength.
He is Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, co-founder of the Muslim Reform Movement. He's a former U.S. Navy lieutenant commander and author of the book A Battle for the Soul of Islam. Dr. Jasser, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Car Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second-generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old-school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest-growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Car Machine and Tool. You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
I talk openly about money with my kids. It's important they learn at a young age.
I make sure to always give back.
It's how I remember where I came from.
I put what I can towards my retirement every month. Every little bit counts.
At Thrivent, we believe money is a tool, not a goal. Driven by a higher purpose at our core for more than 100 years, we offer expert financial advice that starts with what's important to you. Visit Thrivent.com to learn more.
Did you know most vitamin supplements have a warning label on the back? That's because without the synergy of thousands of nutrients working together that are found naturally in whole fruits and vegetables, vitamins are not balanced. This is why Balance of Nature only uses whole fruits and vegetables, no isolates or synthetic vitamins of any kind. We take a variety of 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and remove the water without changing the rich chemistry. It's then ground to a powder, blended to perfection, and encapsulated, preserving the nutrients and making it easy to get the fruits and vegetables you need. So even though Balance of Nature comes in a capsule and looks like a vitamin, it's very different. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
Really quick, Dan. According to WVON radio host Ray Easy Lee, illegal immigrants are moving into the Amundsen Park right now. He put on Facebook, I told you that the alderman was lying and gaslighting the people, and I heard the Dome in Garfield Park is next.
That's
so
what
we'll keep an eye on that.
What we just said at the top of the hour. You think your public reprieve and then the private reality. Classic Chicago. Coming up at 7:07, Alex Marlowe on Bidening.
And today it's going to be cloudy with a couple of showers, a high of 64 degrees at 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
The number of dead Americans in Israel is expected to rise today. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. We just heard that from a State Department spokesperson. So far, the number's at 14, with about 20 more Americans feared to be missing in among Hamas's hostages. More than 100 Israelis also held captive. Yanni Asher's wife and 2 young daughters are missing. He tells Fox,
I'm trying to approach anyone that can help me send them back.
As Israel wages war on Hamas over Saturday's terror attack, Fox's Trey Yingst is there.
The Israeli military launches artillery shells toward the Gaza Strip.
He is right near the border.
The roads were lined with the bodies of Hamas militants. They say they have found 1,500 bodies of Palestinian militants in southern Israel. You can hear those blasts behind me. That's the outgoing artillery fire that's taking place. But just horrific scenes continue to be found here.
The number of Israelis killed in Hamas attacks tops 1,200, while more than 1,000 Palestinians are dead in Gaza, where food and fuel supplies are dwindling. Electricity may be cut off soon. Israel's also been under attack today from Hezbollah on the Lebanon border. House Republicans could vote today on the new speaker to replace the ousted Kevin McCarthy after hearing from both candidates last night. Fox's Ryan Schmelz reports.
Members will decide between either Majority Leader Steve Scalise or Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan. For Congressman Mike Garcia of California, he wants to see which candidate can reach out to not just those on the right, but also the middle.
It's districts like mine, the swing seats, that are really going to define whether or not we keep the majority.
Since Scalise just told Fox they expect to have a speaker announced today. Months after Montana banned TikTok over security concerns, Utah is suing the social media app.
Citing an extensive investigation, the state of Utah alleges that TikTok and its China-based parent company, ByteDance, illegally and purposely baits children into addictive and unhealthy use. It misleads young users and their parents about the app's dangers.
That's Jeff Manasso. America's listening to
43 degrees. At 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Frost advisories are up for much of the area except for Cook and Lake counties in Illinois and LaPorte County in northwest Indiana. Dozens gathered for worship and prayer in support of Israel, supporting those impacted by the Hamas terror attacks. At a temple service, Rabbi Michael Weinberg spoke for many parents with family members caught in the crossfire.
She's staying with friends who have a safe room in their apartment because she doesn't have one in her apartment.
Rabbi Weinberg's daughter was at first unable to book a flight back home, but was finally able to get tickets for a weekend flight. Residents of Joliet Township packed Tuesday night's board meeting, rejecting the township's attempt to receive The state of Illinois asylum seeker grant $8.6 million in political money that is supposed to help Joliet Township and other municipalities welcome illegal migrants. Facing an angry public for the first time, Township Supervisor Angel Contreras tried to explain.
The Spanish Community Center has already documented at least 2,200 people seeking assistance through their organization since last year. Similarly, Will Grundy Medical Center has seen an increase in demand for their services, and local food pantries have been under strain.
The mayor of Joliet, Terry Darcy, demanded the smaller government body give the money back, says the city will not cooperate. Mayor Brandon Johnson set to unveil his first spending plan while under intense pressure not only to close a $538 million spending gap in the city's 2024 budget, but also make good on campaign promises. A Chicago man is accused of firing gunshots outside of a police station and causing a crash that left 10 injured over the weekend on the city's south side. Anthony Evans now faces several criminal charges. Charges are pending against a man who scaled the Accenture Tower in Chicago's West Loop. The man was seen climbing the high-rise yesterday. Maison Deschamps has taken credit for the climb. The pro-life activist, who goes by the name the Pro-Life Spider-Man, said he was doing so to raise money for pro-life causes. And you remember that 104-year-old Chicago woman who made history after setting a world record recently as the oldest person to skydive. Well, she's passed away. Dorothy Hoffner passed away peacefully in her sleep on Monday. Her death again coming a week after she set that record at Skydive Chicago at the suburban airport in Ottawa. The Blackhawks scored 3 goals in the third period in a 4-2 Game 1 NHL season opening win over the Penguins in Pittsburgh. They take on the Bruins tonight. The news: a service of health insurance mentors. Are you 65 or older and thinking about Medicare? Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Call Stephen Tucker today for free Medicare advice, 630-674-1551. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Breakthrough Ideas, Linex of Roselle, and by the law offices of Stephen Leahy.
Don't defund the police. Hire the police to protect your business. Rising crime has been crippling business owners in Illinois more and more in the past year. Blue Star Security can protect your most valuable asset, your business, to protect both you and your customers. Blue Star Security is the only security company in Chicago with over 500 off-duty police officers, all W-2 employees.
I'm Anthony Barchetto, president of Blue Star Security and a 20-year law enforcement veteran. Our team is exclusively state-certified active and retired law enforcement professionals who provide the highest standards in security. We serve Fortune 500 companies, as well as small businesses and individuals, responding rapidly and seamlessly to each assignment. Blue Star Security's technology allows mobilization of off-duty officers quickly and efficiently. Our primary mission is to provide unparalleled protective services for each assignment with integrity while maintaining our commitment to community service in the Chicagoland area.
Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at bluestarsecurityltd.com. That's bluestarsecurityltd.com.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
You have the right to know and the freedom to choose what's best for you and your family's well-being. This has been the Trinity Health Freedom Expo motto since it began in 2005. Throughout the years, the Health Freedom Expo provided a platform for reputable and uncensored access to current information and the top products from the natural health industry. The 32nd Health Freedom Expo is on October 14th and 15th at the Tinley Park Convention Center. The expo speakers and exhibitors come from all walks of life and a variety of backgrounds, including healthcare, law, and research and development. The 2023 Trinity Health Freedom Expo will feature nearly 36 expert speakers, including Dr. Bradley Nelson, Dr. Ellen Tart Jensen, Dr. Brian Hooker, and for the private symposium, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, board-certified osteopathic medical doctor, founder of Tenpenny Integrative Medical Center, and vaccine researcher. View the full lineup and register at trinityhealthfreedomexpo.com or call 888-658-3976. Attend the expo on October 14th and 15th because you have the right to a naturally vibrant life.
7:08, let's get an update on the roads. A service of My Pillow. 6-pack bath towel sets, they're back in stock. Proprietary technology makes them extremely absorbent, and for a limited time, get 50% savings with promo code LIBERTY. Lombard accident, Roosevelt, right at the Veterans Memorial Toll Road. Darien accident, Bailey and Lakeview. 8094, an accident, left lane block westbound between Chase and Calumet. I-80, an accident in Will County, eastbound, right at Center. Tri-State overturned vehicle, 3 lanes are now blocked. Northbound on 294 between Archer and the Stevenson. Got solid traffic on the Dan Ryan coming inbound with an accident at Taylor. 34 minutes in, 95th into the Burns Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, increasing cloudiness, showers and a high 64. Rain and drizzle tonight, though 55. Rain mainly early in the day for tomorrow, the high 61. Rain could be heavy Friday, the high 65. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
42 at O'Hare, 27 in Aurora. And your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by ServPro, the #1 choice in cleanup and restoration. Visit servpro.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The Cuomos have Chris. They're Fredo.
Yeah.
And the hillbillies from Wilmington, Delaware. There's a lot of competition here, but I'm going to go with Frank. At least
you're Frank guy, huh?
In terms of the brothers, Fredo Biden, Frank Biden. I know it was so many serious things to talk about, but this is really entertaining. So. Joe Biden's younger brother, Frank, admits naked selfie on Guys with iPhones gay dating site is genuine.
But he said my phone must have been hacked.
He said that, and then he said, I have absolutely no comment. I could care less. I think he meant to say I couldn't care less. But, that's why he's Fredo Biden. I haven't looked at it, and saying they must have hacked my phone, but, boy... I'll tell you, maybe a little, maybe Hunter and Frank could get in on a gay dating site or something.
They really like to show their bodies and their junk while they're in the bathroom with the toilet seat up. I noticed a pattern here.
Yeah, before we get too far along on this, though, to me, I looked at this.
Yes.
And it looks like it has all the earmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign. And I'm just waiting for
steal a laptop?
I'm waiting for Mike Morrell and Jim Clapper to come out and say as much. So just so you're scoring at home, Hunter's laptop isn't real.
Right.
Frank's phone got hacked, and Joe's Corvette is like Christine and stole those classified documents. Those are your Wilmington, Delaware hillbillies, the first family, don't you know?
Yeah, one of the Biden's going to go meet their 7th grandchild. Remember they made that big announcement, but nothing yet. Nothing in the books.
In other news related to Biden Inc., Jim Comer, head of the House Oversight Committee, let's get the speaker vote done today. New speaker installed, or the old speaker. I'm sort of indifferent, frankly, and get back to work here because this is going to need to get public profile to penetrate the consciousness of the country. And that means the impeachment inquiry leads to an actual impeachment proceeding. Anyway, Representative Jim Comer, Joe Biden's VP office emailed with his son Hunter and his brother Jim, who we have not seen shirtless yet, but hopefully at some point we will. Emailed his son Hunter, his brother Jim, and both of their businesses more than 29,000 times. So when he said there was an absolute wall between his work as an elected official and his family's business, this just in, real shock, he was lying. For more on Biden Inc., we're pleased to be joined by Alex Marlow. He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and New York Times bestselling author of Breaking the News. He's got a new book. I see what he's doing here. I see a breaking series developing. Breaking the News, his first book, Breaking Biden, his new book, exposing the hidden forces and secret money machine behind Joe Biden, his family, and his administration. Alex Marlow, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's great to be on with you guys. Thank you for having me.
So what is your review of what Jim Comer, the Jims have done? Jim Comer and Jim Jordan mainly. Throw Jason Smith in there as well. So far, after this impeachment inquiry formally was announced, even though it had been functionally ongoing for some time, are we getting to the core of this influence peddling operation, gay dating operation, and every other operation affiliated with the Biden family?
Guys, I just heard from Tony Blinken, and I will tell you that this is 100% a Russian disinformation campaign.
There you go.
Don't take the fact that Frank himself basically suggested these pics are real. Why didn't he just say they're AI? I mean, you can do that now, and no one would know the better. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. So if anyone finds secret pictures of me online, it's just going to be, no, it's just AI. I don't have a 9-pack like Frank does. Frank spends a lot of time in the gym. I will tell you that.
He loves his body. I mean, these people take naked selfies all the time as if they're like obsessed.
They're voyeurs. They're voyeurs. They enjoy it. One of the things when I was researching the book, and then I will answer your question, of course. One of the creepiest moments of Joe Biden's life actually occurred about 50 years ago. He did this interview for the Washingtonian magazine with a young blonde reporter named Kitty Kelly, and he described in vivid detail sex with his recently deceased wife. It's the most perverted thing you've ever seen, that he felt the need to try to impress this young journalist by talking about how he would be able to satisfy his wife after getting home from the campaign. There's no sane human being who would ever speak like this in private, and he speaks to a journalist this way. It actually...
And by the way, that's Kitty Kelly, like of Oprah Winfrey, Bush family, Jackie Onassis fame, right?
Yes, and she's a young, cute blonde at the time, and Joe's trying to impress her. There's no doubt about it. That's what he's doing. And he's trying to win her over by talking about how he had such a deep connection with his millionaire wife, who was not a millionaire. Her parents owned a diner, a person named Nelia Hunter, his first wife, that he would, no matter what, he could still satisfy her when he got home from the campaign. It was such braggadocio. It was so disgusting. One of the few moments of researching Joe for over a year where I kind of liked him, he admitted after he got the fallout from the interview, which was incredibly negative. Kitty Kelly could barely stand the heat. He gave her a hug, and he muttered to himself, "I'm such a sucker." And I like that because he is a sucker. Like, no one would ever say that out loud. But they're voyeurs. They want to be naked in front of the public. To go back to your question. I can't believe how much I had to write about the penis of a first family.
The penis of a what?
Of a member of the first family.
Yeah.
I'm getting off track again, but just thinking about Hunter again. Like, why did I have to write about Hunter's penis? Well, what in my life brought me to that moment?
It's it's a real commentary on where we are.
But I just don't understand why he's not in jail. If you open up the laptop, he's committing crimes and recording them with prostitutes doing drugs.
Yeah, he should be. Well, and I think Joe should be in jail for the Burisma example. I mean, it's an open and shut case of bribery. Hunter gets $1 million job. And the company has one request: get this prosecutor fired. Our own State Department says the prosecutor is doing a good job. Joe fires the prosecutor anyway. I mean, it's clear bribery. It's the U.S. policy changed materially because Hunter was getting paid, and Joe did it.
But
it's patently illegal.
Just the thing on this, maybe you can clear this up, because I go back to what Devin Archer said in the interview he did with Tucker Carlson, where his impression of we've got Shokin taken care of, the prosecutor. He's taking care of. His impression was not that he was going to be fired, but that they've essentially paid him off in some material way, that he's not going to be a problem anymore. He's good there, and he's not going to be a problem anymore. And then when he got fired, Archer's reaction was like, well, essentially, well, that's not a positive development. That brings too much attention. So was the overt act firing him, or was that Joe freelancing or messing things up? It's unclear to me based on what Devin Archer said.
Yeah, the overt act, I would say, is the firing, because there was no reason to fire him based off of his performance, and Joe demanded that he was fired. Even our own State Department acknowledged, and this is Barack Obama's State Department, that there was no reason to fire the person Shokin based on how he was doing in his job. So that Joe Biden demanded it, which we now have on tape because he bragged about it to the Council on Foreign Relations in that infamous video that I'm sure you guys have played on the show. That is American policy changing, and the only logical explanation is that it benefits the family that was getting $1 million a year. So bribery can include other family members. It doesn't just have to be the individual who carried out the act within our government. So clearly that violates bribery statutes. He should be in jail. Our DOJ should have investigated it. And so to come back to your very important question, I generally run negative on some of these investigations. The Bidens have gotten away with things for 50 years, and I document some in the book. I don't think Joe's first Senate race was legitimate. I get into that in my research. His first Senate race, he was 29 years old that he won, I don't think was legit.
The Teamsters shut down the other side's advertising, right? This was in that book, exactly. I Paint Houses.
That's exactly right. So Frank Sheeran, who people probably know from the movie The Irishman, it appears, and I don't have hard and fast evidence on this, but the constellation of facts suggests that Frank Sheeran from The Irishman, I Heard You Paint Houses, got involved and made sure that these ads that were against Joe Biden did not run in the papers. So that's a rigged race, and Joe Biden probably would never have been senator if not for that. So I'm just saying that's where you start there.
Yeah.
And then he, for 50 years, has gotten away with everything. So I'm very cynical that the government is ever going to hold this family accountable. Notice how they finally hauled in Hunter, and it's for the one thing that Joe has nothing to do with, the gun charge. It's the one thing where Joe's not connected.
Right.
Every other thing he's done is connected to Joe. This is the one he's not. They finally haul him in for this. We think we're going to get a guilty plea. We don't even get that. So that said, all that negativity aside, I do think we are getting some of these specific dollar amounts on some of these foreign deals. And having lived inside of Joe Biden's head and trying to understand their business apparati over the last year plus, one of my main frustrations, not the main frustration, is I have no ability to put the exact dollar amount on most of these transactions because they're clever enough to hide them, and without federal subpoena power, I can't get those answers. So when you're starting to see exact dollar amounts come out, that makes me think these guys know what they're doing and that we can be optimistic. But ultimately, we've got to get to the point. And I understand, interviewing all the second-tier characters first, but you've got to get to the point where first Hunter, but really James and Frank as well. They have just as many deals as Hunter. The two Fredos. There's two Fredos actually in the Biden family, and then hopefully Joe himself. They're going to have to come out and answer the questions what they did for these companies where they bagged all this cash. They're not going to have good answers, and I think when they do, this whole country is going to start understanding the truth.
Yeah, well, that's hopefully where we get to, no question. By the way, just this is sort of an aside, and this is a little bit gossipy. I'm going a little bit Kitty Kelly here, but did you come across, looking back at his 50 years of disreputable conduct, there was always this rumor inside the Beltway that him, Chris Dodd, and Teddy Kennedy where like the Three Amigos or the Three Stooges, as the case may be, carousing in D.C. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I didn't come across anything where I could advance that story. Of course, it came up. I tried to bring stuff up where I could advance the ball a little bit and add new information or connect new dots. But those stories are out there, and given the point about voyeurism, I wouldn't dismiss anything. A lot of the things where there's a lot of smoke, the more you get to know Joe Biden, the more you expect that there is fire. And that's one thing that when you get most human beings, I find human beings interesting as a journalist. It's hard to do journalism if you're not wired that way. I'm kind of hoping I'm going to find something I like about various people. There's always nothing likable about the Bidens. They're bad people. Joe Biden's a bad guy. He just is. You mentioned the Navy Joan. He's a deadbeat grandpa. There's a story in the book about Frank where Frank was involved in a hit-and-run car accident, left the scene, and then avoided paying the surviving daughters of the guy that he and this other guy ran over in their car. And Joe helped him cover it up. Now, Joe lost his wife and daughter in a car crash. You would think Joe would want to be empathetic here. He's not. He helps his brother hide like a coward.
Well, he also too. I mean, just Joe the Fabulous, which is a book in and of itself, but he also lied about the context of the terrible accident that took his first wife and his daughter. He said that the guy was drunk, and he wasn't.
He was a truck driver, not a drunk driver.
It's so maddening it makes you want to spit when you read the story, that it wasn't enough for him to get the entire country's sympathy, which he did. The whole country wept for him when his wife and daughter died. And he was this young guy, kind of handsome, kind of charismatic, coming in the Senate. He has his tragedy. The whole country's weeping for him. It wasn't enough for him. He had to lie about it. He had to lie and say that the driver was a drunk driver. It wasn't his fault. His wife was not driving safely. I don't mean to criticize her, but she wasn't. And he wasn't drunk. And Joe lied about it for years.
Which is just such an easy thing to fact check if the D.C. press corps, the Demcom shop, had any interest. Because if he was drunk and that was identified at the scene, then he would have been prosecuted for vehicular manslaughter, which of course he wasn't.
Exactly right. And finally, it was like 20 years later, maybe 30 years later, they finally there was some effort to clear the guy's name, and they did. But come on, he just gets away with 30 years of lying.
He really. I mean, I think that is the summation on them. We've talked about it a lot on the show. This Scranton Joe, and he's just sort of an amiable dunce, and now he's sort of a senile, amiable dunce, and he's not. These are bad people, up and down the roster, bad people.
He lived in a ballroom he didn't live in a ballroom. He lived in a 10,000 square foot house. It was a DuPont mansion, and it had a ballroom in it. He's not Scranton Joe, lunch bucket Joe. It's all BS. He lived a life of luxury, and he did it off of dirty deals and his family member cashing in. And his family did deals, and I think I counted north of half a dozen countries where they had deals they shouldn't have gotten. All of these should be explained as these investigations play out. But I will say one of the things that I really want to share with your audience is I did try to write this book to empower we the people. I think he's beatable, and I think if we underestimate him, he's going to win again. But if we take him seriously as the threat to our republic that he is, and to understand he's not a dumb guy, he's always said dumb stuff, but he's not a dumb guy. He's built a huge apparatus, and it's getting bigger. And if we get fired up, then we don't need to wait for the investigations to conclude. There's enough material in the book that people, if it gets internalized by the American public, he's going to lose. So if we can get the word out and we can get excited to go vote this guy out in 13 months, I think it's going to happen.
He is Alex Marlow. He's the editor-in-chief of Breitbart, and his new book, Breaking Biden, Exposing the Hidden Forces and Secret Money Machine Behind Joe Biden, His Family, and His Administration. Breaking Biden by Alex Marlow from Breitbart. Alex, thanks for joining us. Good luck with the book.
You guys are so fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Nick Philippus, co-owner of Joe Donut and a proud customer of Signature Bank. We're a locally owned artisan donut shop that focuses on chef-made small batch and craft donuts. We have 7 locations around the Chicagoland suburbs, with an 8th location coming soon. After opening our original stores in Glenview and Niles, we came to Signature Bank for financing for our new Mount Prospect location. From PPP and material delays in construction, Signature Bank was flexible and truly a banking partner that a small business like ours hadn't experienced before. Even their fraud department was able to stop a $30,000 fraudulent check from clearing our account. That allowed us to focus on selling donuts, knowing Signature Bank had our back.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Dan Proft here for Northridge Prep. Northridge Prep, great place to be a boy. What does that mean exactly? In short, it's thanks to a foundation of an all-boys environment that builds your son up into a man of intellect and character who loves God. The teachers and faculty members become mentors to students. And when you combine that with an atmosphere that's fun, competitive, and challenging, it creates an exceptional experience for your son. The result is that boys just love Northridge Prep. Northridge Prep has been educating young men turning boys into young men, perhaps a better way to put it, for nearly 50 years. And one of the things that stands out to me is their commitment to partnering with parents. You hear this a lot with schools, but at Northridge, it's real. Parents can't stop talking about it. They built a community that really works together. Raising kids is difficult, and at Northridge, you can be confident your son is on the right path. Northridge is having an open house on Sunday, October 22nd for boys in grades 6 through 12. You can register today at northridgeprep.org. Again, that open house for Northridge Prep is Sunday, October 22nd. Register at northridgeprep.org.
A message brought to you by Paul Davis Restoration of North Chicago. It's a beautiful summer day in the Midwest. No clouds in sight, but on the horizon we spot trouble.
Oh no! I just received a call from my condo building manager, and 3 floors burned in a fire last night. My unit was severely damaged from soot and smoke. Now what do I do? Who do I call?
You call Paul Davis Restoration. Nobody expects to experience an insurance loss. The truth is, fires, floods, tornadoes, hail, and just plain bad things happen to over 1 million homeowners annually. You could be one of them. Whether you face a business or residential catastrophe, Paul Davis Restoration is ready to help you from the instant the fire is out, the tornado has passed through, or the floodwaters have receded. We have a 25,000 square foot warehouse within minutes of the Chicago Loop and can pack out clean, restore your items, and return them to you in record time. Visit Paul Davis Restoration online at pauldavischicago.com or call 773-883-8000. That's 773-883-8000 or online at pauldavischicago.com. That's pauldavischicago.com or call 773-883-8000 or online at pauldavischicago.com.
Did you know most vitamin supplements have a warning label on the back? That's because without the synergy of thousands of nutrients working together that are found naturally in whole fruits and vegetables, vitamins are not balanced. This is why Balance of Nature only uses whole fruits and vegetables, no isolates or synthetic vitamins of any kind. We take a variety of 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and remove the water without changing the rich chemistry. It's then ground to a powder, blended to perfection, and encapsulated, preserving the nutrients and making it easy to get the fruits and vegetables you need. So even though Balance of Nature comes in a capsule and looks like a vitamin, it's very different. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The
Answer. Text from 630. Speaking of Chris Dodd, which I just asked Alex Marlowe about. Dodd, Biden, and Kennedy, 3 guys on the scene.
Yeah, the 3 amigos.
630. I met Chris Dodd in Dallas when the Dems were drafting Obama to run for POTUS. He had a boner talking about Obama.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up. He had a what?
He had a boner talking about Obama. Felt like I needed a shower after talking to the guy. Creep. Yeah, well, that's because they're all oleaginous louts and grifters, Chris Dodd included.
And they'd all be taking selfies of their naked selves back then if they had cameras and iPhones.
Well, nobody wants to see Chris Dodd
naked,
Ted Kennedy, or Uncle Joe, Mr. 10%.
Yeah, I'll take a hard pass on that. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, we return to the matter of the Hamas attack on Israel, what the American response should be, and also addressing some of the cover stories being promulgated by the terrorist enablers. Jonathan Greenberg, former Midwest political director at the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, joins us at 7:37.
And a mother who's kidnapped children, who's still waiting on word, has a very strong message for Andrea Mitchell. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
42 degrees at 7:33. Frost advisories are up until 8 a.m. House Republicans are scheduled to vote today on a new speaker. The vote will come after Majority Leader Steve Scalise of Louisiana and Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan made their pitches overnight. Egypt is moving to avert a mass exodus from the Gaza Strip into the Sinai Peninsula. Israel has ordered what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called a complete siege of the Gaza Strip, and now Egypt is trying to seal off their border.
Around 1,000 Palestinians have been killed so far, and this is just the opening phase. Israel is now preparing to send in tanks and troops.
The Rafah border also remained shut after Egyptian military planes conducted flights nearby overnight, trying to seal their border. U.S. officials are also investigating whether some of the Hamas militants who carried out the shocking attack on Israel got advanced training from Iran. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on Tuesday said Iran was, in his words, complicit in the attack.
More than 1,000 men, women, and children were slaughtered in their homes, on their streets, in desert fields, and among them at least 14 Americans.
The number is at 14, but rising, and American Galia Mizrahi is among the devastated families waiting for word from their loved ones.
And then the last message we got from them was, "We don't want to die. We're afraid to die. Come help us."
At least 2 of her family members were killed. 4 are missing. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made a surprise visit to NATO headquarters today. Zelensky appealing for more aid and weapons from his Western allies. Mayor Brandon Johnson is set to unveil his first spending plan today under intense pressure to close a budget gap, but also to make good on campaign promises. A Chicago man is accused of firing gunshots outside of a police station, causing a crash that left 10 injured on the city's south side. Today, Anthony Evans faces several criminal charges after the Saturday event. The University of Illinois Police Department this morning is investigating after a shooting earlier this week in Champaign. No injuries reported, but shots were fired Monday night. The Blackhawks scored 3 goals in the third in a 4-2 season opening win over the Penguins in Pittsburgh. Connor Bedard notching a win and an assist in his first NHL contest. Nick Foligno put the game away in the final 90 seconds. Blackhawks visit the Bruins later on tonight. Bears have brought in some depth at receiver, signing wideout Colin Johnson to their practice squad. The news service of Advanced Design Studios. Thinking of a home renovation but aren't sure where to begin? Check out Common Sense Remodeling with Advanced Design Studio online, advanceddesignstudio.com. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Identity theft shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, more than $29 billion were stolen last year alone. That's a criminal success story and a wake-up call for everyone else. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. LifeLock makes it easy to help protect yourself if you become a victim. A dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. Join now and save up to 25% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code at LifeLock.com, promo code Clay.
Did you know most vitamin supplements have a warning label on the back? That's because without the synergy of thousands of nutrients working together that are found naturally in whole fruits and vegetables, vitamins are not balanced. This is why Balance of Nature only uses whole fruits and vegetables, no isolates or synthetic vitamins of any kind. We take a variety of 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and remove the water without changing the rich chemistry. It's then ground to a powder, blended to perfection, and encapsulated, preserving the nutrients and making it easy to get the fruits and vegetables you need. So even though Balance of Nature comes in a capsule and looks like a vitamin, it's very different. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Homeowners experiencing low water pressure, rusty yellow water, little to no hot water, or pressure so low that showering is difficult?
Honey, don't flush. I'm in the shower.
These are all symptoms of clogged and corroded galvanized water pipes that are filled with gunk older than you. You should see it. It's disgusting. You drink it, brush your teeth with it, and bathe in it. Yuck. For your family's sake, repipe your home with quality PEX or copper pipes from All Affordable Plumbing. We're your local family-owned and operated repiping expert. We can repipe your home in 1 to 3 days with minimal disturbance, and we include a lifetime guarantee. And for a limited time, we're offering 12-month no-interest, no-payment financing and a free water heater. So if you have low water pressure, call for a free in-home estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. That's 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. If you have low water pressure, a copper repipe will get you flowing again. Call for a free estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE. That's 800-NEW-PIPE.
Gillette Intimate gives guys a gentle and easy shave. Don't treat yourself like junk. Respect it with Gillette Intimate, the best a man can get. Buy now at a retailer near you.
7:40, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Turnkey Consulting. With decades of C-suite experience, Turnkey knows small business. Their team of veteran consultants knows how to reduce costs and grow new revenue streams. Turnkey with solutions for you and your business. Visit turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro. 37 on the inbound Edens commute, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy inbound, 90 solid minutes from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Aiken, right now an hour 16 from 390 into the old post office. Back outbound on the Ike, 45 minutes back out to 390. Northbound 55, accident right shoulder right at Weber Road. The Stevenson main line coming in, jam solid, Harlem to Kedzie. It's an hour 20 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Increasing clouds, couple of showers this afternoon, high of 64, and that sets up us for about 3 or 4 consecutive days of rain. Tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where highs will top out at about 60. 42 right now. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas, best beans, best roast, best coffee. Online at papanicholas.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It took the big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden, 4 days in conjunction with his team to figure out where they were on the Hamas terrorist attack against Israel, the massacre that was committed at the hands of this terrorist organization called Hamas in the Gaza over the weekend, as we all know. They started out with Blinken saying we need a ceasefire. And I'm sure Rob Malley was somewhere, the special envoy to Iran, somewhere in the mix. Took a while to get to we stand with Israel, which is what the big guy said yesterday. But the problem is the Biden administration and the Obama administration before Biden, Joe Obama terms 1 and 2, they spent a lot of time standing with Iran, and they're having a difficult time explaining that. A good example of this yesterday. NSC spokesman John Kirby, who continues to disgrace himself every time he has to flack for this regime, and Brett Baer going back and forth on the enforcement of sanctions against Iran, which, based on their oil exports, haven't really been happening. The enforcement has not really been happening. And the $6 billion in cash for hostages that was reportedly in part used to help Hamas plan this sneak attack. Here's that exchange.
There's a lot of talk about the $6 billion and the American hostage exchange. I heard you also say that it can be frozen at any time. Why isn't this the time to freeze that?
I don't have any policy decisions with respect to that to speak to you today, Brett. I think it's important for people to remember that not a single dinar of those funds has gone into Iran. Not one. Not any. Nothing's been allocated out of that fund.
Yeah, John,
and we're going to watch this.
Block. Money's fungible. You get $6 billion over here for humanitarian and food, so then you can move money someplace else. And then you have the not enforcing sanctions that allows Iran to cash in on its oil around the world.
Brett, with all due respect, I just got to push back on you there. It's not that we're not enforcing sanctions. We have been enforcing them. As a matter of fact, we've added sanctions. We've sanctioned 400 entities in Iran just in the beginning of this administration, let alone the sanctions that came before us. And as for the fungibility, again, that money was never going to be tapped by the Iranian regime. They were never going to see it themselves. It was always going to go to vendors that we approved to go to buy humanitarian assistance and medical and food to get directly to the Iranian people. The regime was never going to see that or feel that, and they haven't asked for it. And the other thing I'll say, Brett, just before we get off this topic,
No, John, I want to just push back on one thing. You said that the sanctions are being enforced. The Iranian exports of oil to China, 2020, $6.6 billion. 2021, $23.1 billion. 2022, $30 billion. So how is that enforcing the sanctions on Iran?
We're mindful that Iranian oil is still on the market, and it is a global market.
But, I mean, that's a lot of money, right?
Supply and demand have to be balanced, but I'm telling you that we are enforcing the sanctions, and we're adding sanctions to the regime.
Supply and demand have to be balanced. What a statement. One way to balance supply and demand is to drill domestically, explore for fossil fuels domestically, so you're not going with your tin cup to dictators in Venezuela, Russia,
so you're not reliant on foreign
Iran.
oil.
And by the way, the other matter with the $6 billion, it was going to go to social service providers and charitable organizations. John, do you know how things work in a totalitarian state? I mean, are you serious?
You're not going to give them money and then tell them how to spend it, you idiots. I mean, my God.
For more on this and other matters, Jonathan Greenberg, former Midwest political director at the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. He's a writer on Jewish issues and Middle East policy, an ordained rabbi, and advisor to a private charitable family foundation. Now, Jonathan, longtime friend, also ran for state legislature here in Illinois before he wised up. Another choice that Illinoisans could have made, in addition to all of these members of the Hamas caucus that issued this joint statement, like Tony Blinken, calling for a de-escalation and criticizing Israel, talking about Palestinians being denied basic human rights and so on and so forth, to rationalize a terrorist massacre over the weekend. More than a dozen Illinois state legislators, all Dem socialists, of course, and many in the suburbs, not just the city. Amazing. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it included the two guys who represent Skokie, of all places.
Oh, really?
Well, see, I want to get to, the cultural response to this too, because of the sort of the feigned surprise from men and women of the left who are pantomiming support for Israel. But before we get there, what Jonathan Kirby had to say about the regime's posture towards the regime in Tehran, and what's been going on for the last decade leading up to this, I just go back to this piece I mentioned before. Leo Leibovitz, writing over at Tablet, he wrote this: "The stage for this attack was not set in or by Israel. It was set by the United States," and he basically is suggesting it was set by the policy of the Joe Obama years and special envoys like Robert Malley, the lead negotiator for the Iran nuclear deal, taking a posture towards Iran that compromised Israel's security.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very critical of both the Obama administration and the Biden administration policy on Iran, policy on Israel vis-a-vis the Palestinians, and I think there's a time for this coming. There's going to be a time for a serious investigation of what went wrong in Israeli and American intelligence, that nobody saw this coming, and I know for a fact that nobody saw this coming because my 19-year-old niece was stationed at a base in outside the Gaza border. After 4 weeks of being a soldier, that she had no business being there. The Israelis clearly put her there because they had no idea something was coming. She's safe, thank God. But I am consumed right now with 1,200 dead Israelis as of this morning, at least 150, possibly more, of my brothers and sisters in captivity in Gaza in conditions I don't even want to think about. And the time for all of this stuff will come, and it will come. But there are more immediate concerns right now, and the biggest thing I want to beg your listeners to do is call your members of Congress, call our senators. I don't care if you like them or not. Try to be nice on the phone, and ask them to tell the Biden administration to continue to give Israel time to do whatever it has to do. The only thing that's going to stop Israel from doing what it needs to do is international pressure. And the only people that can take that international pressure off are the Americans. All we have to do is veto anything that comes up to the Security Council. Make sure that the international community gives Israel time to do what it needs to do. We don't need any other American assistance, just that. Please call members of Congress and senators and ask them to give Israel time.
Okay.
That's fair.
That is fair. The hostages, 50 families have been notified that their loved ones are being held hostage by Hamas. 4 of them that we know so far are Americans. We know that a mom and daughter are still unaccounted for that are from Evanston. What is the plan to try and get them out of there, and is there hope that we can get them back alive?
So the hostage situation is especially cruel because, and this has been covered in the Israeli press, I haven't seen it in the American press yet, hostage takers are using the cell phones of the people they've captured to call parents. They look up mom or dad in the cell phone, and then they make these taunting, awful phone calls. The whole point of this is psychological torture against Israelis. We were warned by the institutions of the Jewish community, including our children's schools, to make sure we restrict social media access to our kids because Hamas is going to begin posting execution and torture videos of the hostages. And so we've had to restrict what our kids are able to see over the course of the next several weeks, probably. In terms of getting them back, honestly, what I hear is that the hostages will not be taken into consideration in conducting military operations. And as awful as that sounds, it really is necessary. The goal of this military operation, unlike other military operations, every other military operation against Hamas in the last 10 or 15 years has been conducted to achieve some kind of a quiet, some kind of a status quo. That's not what this is. This is a war of eradication. These are people, there is no peace to be had with these people. There is only time to be bought. And in that time, the enemy grows stronger. And the eventual war of eradication you're going to have to fight gets harder, and more Israeli boys will die. So finally, it looks like Israel has been hit hard enough that they're going to go after Hamas root and branch, and which is why I say they need the time to do it. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a long time. But I think that if you're doing that with one arm tied behind your back because you're constantly concerned about where the hostages are, you're going to hamper yourself militarily. And I think the Israeli army is going to conduct this without regard to where the hostages are, which is horrible. It's a terrible calculation that the Israeli government has to make. But it's also why we don't let terrified parents make these decisions. We have elected leaders who make them.
We should understand Hamas the way that, with respect to Israel, the way that we went after ISIS and Al Qaeda post 9/11 in America. I mean, that's essentially the analog, right?
That's exactly right. All the things that you saw ISIS doing, Hamas landed paragliders in the middle of a rave for peace and opened fire on hundreds of young Israelis and people from other countries who were there to celebrate peace. There were peace activists among them. They don't care. They just want dead Jews. And they opened fire, and they probably 50 of the hostages came, mostly young women from that music festival. And the videos from there are awful, if any of you have seen them. And the hundreds of dead bodies. They went house to house in the communities that surround the Gaza Strip, murdering everybody that they could, hunting Jews in their own homes, murdering men, children, decapitating babies. This is there is no peace to be had with people like this. And the other thing I would just remind people, when they see the devastation in Gaza, and there are going to be innocent civilians who are killed in Gaza, and it's awful, and the devastation you're going to see out of Gaza is awful, but the reason that it's going to exist is because Hamas hides behind those people. If they want to come out and fight like men, let them. But they're not going to. They're going to hide behind little kids. And Israel's not going to let those little kids get in the way. And the moral responsibility for those deaths will fall entirely on Hamas. So when you see things like that, remember, the Hamas military headquarters is in the basement of the hospital in Gaza City. They put it there because they don't think that the Israelis will destroy that hospital. And so far, they've been right.
The sort of now is what now is the time for and what it is not. The cultural response is important too, and I just have to say I want to get your reaction to Jonathan Greenblatt at ADL, and others, Larry Summers, former Harvard University president, also a Jewish gentleman. Where are the Fortune 500 CEOs? Where are the university presidents? Where are the BLM chapter heads condemning Hamas? And, but part of my reaction to that is, okay, fair enough. This highlights the reality that bubbles just below the surface when it comes to anti-Semitism, and who's captured which institutions in the West, corporate America, universities, and so forth. But my other reaction is, with due respect, ADL, Harvard, Ivy League, isn't this a little contrived? You enabled the BDS movement on campus for the last 30 years. You're willfully blind to bigoted professors. You make alliances with violent Leninists, and then you're going to say, where are they? You know better.
Yeah. So the rule that I apply, I call the Warsaw Ghetto rule, and that is you're allowed to be wrong, right? Especially people in the Jewish community are wrong on the issue of Israel all the time. And so you're allowed to be wrong. You're even allowed to be painfully wrong. The rule that I apply is if we were fighting together in the Warsaw Ghetto against the Nazis, do I believe that you would be fighting with me? And would I trust you with my plans? And so someone like a Jonathan Greenblatt, who I think is often wrong and has done everything that you just said, you're absolutely right. Do I believe that in that situation he would be fighting with me? And would I trust him with my plans? Would I trust him in my bunker? And the answer for Jonathan, at least, is yes. For lots of other people, it's no. And, I think those people need to be shamed for what they've done and what they've said. And a lot of them, by the way, realize that it's too late for them to come back. A lot of the Bernie supporters that I follow on Twitter, a lot of the more egregious anti-Israel crowd, they realize that it's too late for them to come back. And so they're doubling down on support for Hamas and for the Palestinian National Movement. And it's disgusting. And I'm assuming you saw the tweet from BLM Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Yeah, so... if anybody didn't see it, it's a we stand with Palestine, but it's a picture of a person parachuting somewhere. And of course, as I referenced earlier, that music festival was attacked by people from paragliders. So it's a clear reference to people attacking, again, a peace celebration, a rave focused on peace. BLM Chicago is celebrating the deaths of 260 Israeli and other nationalities, kids. These are kids. And many of them were taken hostage, and BLM Chicago is celebrating it. Listen, I think people are telling us who they are right now. People are telling us who they are, and we need to listen.
He is Jonathan Greenberg, former Midwest political director at the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, a writer on Jewish issues and Middle East policy, ordained rabbi, and now an advisor to a private charitable family foundation. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
120 Life, the natural juice drink that helps lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks or your money back. Here's another happy customer.
Hi, everybody. This is Mark from San Diego. I just wanted to give a little shout out to 120 Life and tell them how great I think the product is. I've been drinking it for almost 3 years, and it's really helped me with my blood pressure, my overall heart health, and the amount of energy I have and feeling good. I haven't even caught a cold in over 3 years, all through COVID. It's been a great product. I'm going to continue to drink it, and I recommend it for everybody. Give it a shot, and I think you'll love it.
Lower your blood pressure naturally in just 2 weeks or your money back guaranteed. To order, visit 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Order the 2-week trial pack and use coupon code DAN to save 15%. The natural solution to high blood pressure. Visit 120life.com and use coupon code DAN at checkout to save 15%.
When life ends, your legacy begins. Ensure your legacy lives on at Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, with 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties. Take advantage of 0% financing, lock in today's prices, and safeguard yourself against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, against the backdrop of the attack in Israel, we'll talk more energy policy, the economic front, with Steve Moore at 8:08.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Charges pending against a man who scaled the Accenture Tower. Blackhawks beat the Penguins in the opener, and clouds and rain on the increase. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
They keep finding more victims of Hamas's terror attack in Israel. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Even worse than ISIS carnage, bodies, decapitated people. Horrific.
So Israeli Defense Forces Lieutenant Colonel Richard Heck just told Fox.
We're now striking Gaza, also from the air, and all future options are on the table. We are focusing mainly on compounds in Gaza.
Fox's Trey Yingst is there.
Gaza is getting hit from the air, from the ground, and the sea. The Israeli Navy shelling the beaches. This is a full-on siege.
And a ground invasion is believed next.
There's an effort to clear a path for the Israeli military before they actually enter the Strip. It's going to be an incredibly difficult operation with guerrilla warfare tactics against them.
More than 1,000 Palestinians are dead in Gaza, where food and fuel is dwindling and electricity's just been cut off. Israel's also been under attack today from Hezbollah in Lebanon. Now, Saturday's Hamas terror attack that started this is blamed for 1,200 Israeli deaths. 14 Americans also killed, though a State Department spokesman says they expect that number to rise today. Americans also fear to be among Hamas's hostages. Fox Corporation has donated $1 million to United Jewish Appeal for their Israel Emergency Fund, providing relief to terror victims there. The U.S. is sending military aid to Israel while also still backing Ukraine. In Brussels, where Fox's Jonathan Savage reports.
Sitting side by side with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin delivered a message. And in his words, digging deep, with another multi-million-dollar drawdown of U.S. military supplies being announced and ready for deployment.
House Republicans gather again today after hearing last night from Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise, who are vying to be the next speaker. Scalise just told Fox he thinks it'll be him.
Our momentum has been growing. I feel like we have the votes to do it, and not only do it to do it today.
We just got an inflation update showing wholesale prices rose 0.5% last month, more than expected. America's listening to Fox News.
42 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer, good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Frost advisories are expiring across many northern Illinois counties. Dozens gathered for worship and prayer in support of Israel and to support those impacted by the Hamas terror attacks. The first hit a music festival where former Chicago mother Rachel Goldberg's son Hirsch was attending.
The first one said, "I love you," and immediately at 8:11 also it said, "I'm sorry."
At a temple service, Rabbi Michael Weinberg spoke for many parents with family members caught in the crossfire of the brutal attacks.
She's staying with friends who have a safe room in their apartment because she doesn't have one in her apartment.
Rabbi Weinberg's daughter was at first unable to book a flight back home, but was finally able to get tickets for a weekend flight. Meantime, the governor is pledging Illinois' support for Israel. Pritzker, who is J.B. Pritzker, who is Jewish, says he put the state police and law enforcement across the state on alert. Mayor Brandon Johnson set to unveil his first spending plan today, while under intense pressure to not just close a $538 million gap in the city's 2024 budget, but also make good on some controversial campaign promises. Charges are pending against a man who scaled the Accenture Tower in Chicago's West Loop. The man seen climbing the high-rise yesterday with videos and photos circulating on social media. Maison Deschamps is a pro-life activist who goes by the name Pro-Life Spider-Man, saying on Instagram he was doing so to raise money for pro-life causes. Blackhawks kick off the NHL season with a win over the Penguins in Pittsburgh, 4-2. The news a service of the Pride stores with 17 locations throughout Chicagoland. Stop by their newest mobile gas station, the Pride of Villa Park, as they celebrate their grand reopening with daily prizes, special offers for diesel customers, and a solo stove raffle. The Pride stores, not your typical convenience store. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
ExxonMobil is buying shale driller Pioneer Natural Resources. The deal is valued at nearly $60 billion and will cement Exxon's status as the dominant company in American fracking. Higher oil and gas prices have pushed up Exxon's share price, making the all-stock transaction possible. Samsung reported improving sales in the summer quarter. The stock is higher, with hopes that the worst of a severe chip industry downturn may be over. Amazon is testing a new feature designed to get you to buy more. The Buy Again feature will use your order history to recommend something you may want to purchase. Amazon's been seeing less growth in its Prime memberships in recent years, and customers as a whole appear to be spending less per order. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Lil's Dietary Shop, Blue Star Security, and by Hope Wins 7.
47 million Americans have no or unscorable credit and would benefit from a Team Hochberg Fresh Start secured Visa card. A Team Hochberg Fresh Start secured Visa card is perfect if your ex-spouse destroyed your credit, you recently filed for or were discharged from a bankruptcy, experienced a foreclosure or short sale, have a number of collections, or if you or one of your kids recently applied for and were denied credit. Team Hochberg has partnered with Kane County Teachers Credit Union to create a Team Hochberg Fresh Start secured Visa credit card to reestablish, enhance, and strengthen listeners with no damaged or challenged credit. For information about Team Hochberg's Fresh Start secured Visa credit card with no annual fee, go to 56david.com/fresh start. That's 56david.com/fresh start. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of radio listeners enhance their credit, but we can't help if you don't visit 56david.com/fresh start. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Think ahead this winter and call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. Go online to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
8:09, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Accident reported on the Edens inbound at Elston, 46 into Montrose. Kennedy right now is at an hour and a half plus, probably 95 minutes right now. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange and climbing right now. Outbound on the Kennedy to the big airport in 49. They've just cleared an accident on the Ike inbound just after York Road. It's 85 minutes from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson right now is jammed solid from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. That's a 70-minute commute. Dan Ryan inbound, a very heavy 50 minutes right now, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, increasing cloudiness, showers and a high 64. Rain and drizzle tonight, though 55. Rain mainly early in the day for tomorrow, the high 61. Rain could be heavy Friday, the high 65. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
42 at O'Hare, next news 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by CharlesEquipment.com, keeping you powered up no matter what the conditions. CharlesEquipment.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Former President Trump gave a pre-response to the statements that President Biden made yesterday, the big I responding to the terrorist attack against Israelis in Gaza by Hamas over the weekend yesterday, saying we stand with Israel. But again, does the rhetoric match the record? President Trump didn't think so.
When I was your president, we had peace through strength, and now we have weakness, conflict, and chaos. The atrocities we're witnessing in Israel would never have happened if I was president, would never have ever happened. When I was commander-in-chief, we reduced the Iranian economy, and I withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal, imposed the toughest ever sanctions on the regime, and imposed a strict travel ban to keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. Now they're pouring into our country. They're pouring into our country. Joe Biden undid it. He undid it all and gave billions and billions of dollars to the world's top sponsor of terror, tossing Israel to the bloodthirsty terrorists and jihadists. You saw that.
Yeah, we did see that, and
I
as
miss Trump.
we heard in the exchange between Brett Baer and John Kirby, the oil exports that Iran is realizing, the money from oil exports it's realizing, which has gone up at a 45-degree angle over the last 24 months.
Billions of dollars.
For more on this, please be joined by Steve Moore, economist, GovZilla author. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, good morning, guys.
We mentioned it a bit before, but that phrase that Kirby used in the exchange with Brett Baer, trying to explain how Iranian oil exports went from about $7 billion a couple of years ago to $30 billion last year, and said, well, supply and demand need to balance. Supply and demand in the world oil markets need to balance.
Right. Well, look, this is almost criminally negligent what's happened with this crazy climate change policy of Biden, which is basically to declare war on American oil and gas production. And so we're producing, in fact, we just did an analysis of this. We are now producing about 2 or 3 million barrels fewer than we would be with the Trump drill baby drill strategy. And that 2 to 3 million barrels a day, that's we're losing about $150 to $200 million every day in terms of output. But where has that all gone? Well, guess what? We have basically empowered financially Russia. That was the first stupid thing. We gave this money essentially to Putin because obviously Russia is a major oil and gas producer, and so that's helped finance the war in Ukraine. And then, of course, what were those numbers for Iran? I hadn't heard those numbers.
Yeah, that's it's like a 4x increase over the last.
That's
24
unbelievable.
months.
I mean, this is we know how the terrorists like Hamas get their money. It's no secret. They don't have any economy, Hamas. They get the money from the oil revenues from the Middle Eastern countries, specifically Iran. And so effectively what Biden has done is put money into the hands of these brutal terrorists. It's disgraceful, actually.
Yeah, so Democrats are starting to feel the pain of their own policies that they've put in place. But let's get to President Biden. I mean, he took a half day on Sunday, then another half day on Monday, and finally came out. Did his words resonate with you yesterday?
You mean that it took him so long to make this statement?
Yeah. Well, then his final statement too.
Well, listen. How do you explain what's going on here? I mean, you played that clip from Trump, and whether you like Trump or not, what he said in that statement was absolutely 100% true. We didn't have terrorist incidents like this when he was president. We got tough with Iran. He did pull us out of these crazy agreements with Iran that would have empowered them. And that was a very positive thing for the U.S. economy. Look, how many times have I said on this show over the last couple of years that what we're doing with respect to our oil policy is not just bad for our economy, but it's putting our security in danger. And that's exactly what's happened here.
With respect to our economy, an interesting piece from Marlo Lewis over at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. He's an environmental policy dude. Talking about the White House Council on Environmental Quality, he gave a statement before this, one of these Star Chamber boards that that oversees the rulemaking at EPA and stuff. And he's basically saying this proposed rule to the revision to the National Environmental Policy Act aligns policymaking in the direction of Biden's pledge under the Paris Climate Treaty to get to net zero by 2050. So they're sort of again moving through the administrative state what they can't move through Congress, particularly with Republicans in control of the House.
So there's a great report put out a few weeks ago by my friends at the Institute for Energy Research, and they found that they've listed, you can go to that report and you can find 100 different policies that Biden has put in place that have been, reduced American oil and gas production. And, do you guys remember what the first act of the president was when Biden came into office?
Kill the Keystone.
Yeah, he killed the Keystone Pipeline. You think he was sending a signal that he's deadly? And by the way, we have ourselves to blame here. We because Joe Biden said, he told us in the debates against Trump, I'm going to destroy the American oil and gas industry. Remember, Dan and Amy, he said that.
Yeah.
And yet people still voted for him. I mean, Illinois voted for a guy who said, I'm going to destroy one of America's great and strategically important industries. And that's what
a lot of union members in Wisconsin got laid off that day. Like, well, we just voted for him.
Well, we don't need the oil and gas.
Fitters
we don't need oil and gas here because we've got Chinese communist-backed electric battery facilities.
I mean, solar panels.
Yeah.
I know. You can, really, folks, you cannot make up the stupidity of this energy policy. We should be producing every single barrel of oil we can, because you want to stop these terrorist incidents. You want to get Putin out of Ukraine. Let's take their money away from them. And the way to do that is to produce as much oil and gas as we can. We should be producing a lot more. I just wrote a piece for FoxNews.com on this. I mean, and you look at the numbers, and the one number I had not seen, I've got to look this up, Dan, is how much Iran's oil exports are up, because we know there's a pipeline from Iran right to these terrorist networks. We know that that's how they get their money.
I wanted to get your reaction to the seemingly irrepressible jobs market and what that means against the backdrop of more and more suggesting that we're looking at a recession, perhaps a steep one, end of this year, beginning of next.
Well, I'm not going to predict a recession, because a lot of economists predicted a recession at the beginning of this year, and the economy's done, pretty well this year. But there's always that worry. And if you look at this jobs report, it was, there was a lot of good news in it, but there was a lot of worrisome news. For example, did you know that full-time employment is actually down in the last couple of months? The number of Americans that are full-time employed. So more and more of these jobs that are being created are part-time jobs. And there's that old joke, about how, yeah, I know the jobs market is good. I know there are a lot of jobs out there because I have 3 of them.
Right.
So more and more Americans are having to work, 2 jobs to make a living. The other thing that's going on right now is, with these interest rate increases that we've seen, the Fed has raised interest rates 11 times now, and they may do it again. Although this new curveball of what's happened in Israel could change everything here, but. Let me give you a statistic that'll just blow you away. When Trump left office, the mortgage interest rate was 2.9%. Today, it's 7.5%. That means for an average median home, if you buy say a $500,000 home, your mortgage payments are going to almost double from like $2,000 to $4,000 a month. So that's inflation. I love this idea, inflation's going down. It is? I don't see it. I don't see it at the grocery store. I don't see it at mortgage rates. I don't see it anywhere. So
well, and also what it does across the board, houses as well as foodstuffs, it just greatly diminishes your purchasing power, what you can actually buy. So that's what people need to understand. Yeah.
By the way, Dan, there's another story I was saving for you and Amy because I knew you'd love this story. So have you heard about the fact that because of the turmoil in the House, we don't have a Speaker of the House, and Lord knows when we're going to get one, that the appropriators, the Republican appropriators are saying, okay, that means with McCarthy's out, the deal's off, and we can spend whatever we want. These are Republicans. Right. I mean, there's an old saying, there's 3 parties in Washington, Republicans, Democrats, and appropriators, and so they don't want to cut the spending. Even though we're running a $2 trillion deficit. We know that Biden doesn't want to cut spending. We know that Chucky Schumer doesn't want to cut spending. Now the Republicans in the House don't want to cut spending.
Yeah, well, we have to keep spending to prevent from going bankrupt, as Joe Biden famously said. You know that. That's how it works.
Exactly. How's that working out for you, folks? I mean, so are we in a precarious position today? Yes. And it circles back to the start of this conversation, that these are self-inflicted wounds. We just should have stuck with the policies that were working.
Steve Moore, economist, Govzilla author. Steve, thanks as always.
Okay, guys, have a great week. Take care.
Thanks, you too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century with IoT Smart Connected Scanning. It's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Great tweet from They Call Me Rum Punch, which is a great handle, great Twitter handle.
They call me Rum Punch?
Yeah.
That's great.
This could apply to what we were talking about with energy, with inflation, with the situation with migrants in Chicago. It's funny how people seem to move to the right when things actually affect them. It is funny. Yeah, I can't afford my stylish views anymore. Yeah, can't afford to feel my way through life anymore. Very good observation. They call me Rum Punch. Dan Proft for Willows Academy. Willows is an authentically Catholic all-girls school that supports traditional values. I was with some Willows parents over the weekend in Jackson Hole. Yes.
Your fishing buddies?
And they're girls, and Northridge parents too. They're girls and they're young. They're kids, girls and boys, are doing great because these are great schools.
It's a great school. You should check it out, honestly. One tour and you'll be convinced.
Go to Willows, and someday maybe you can live in Jackson Hole. That's pretty good incentive.
The kids weren't with you. Their parents were with you.
No, it was some of the one family that's the families moved out there from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For nearly 50 years, Willows has partnered with families in the Chicagoland area to educate young women who will change the world. How do they do it? The school develops virtue, intellectual clarity, and confidence in students to live by the values that have made America great. With all the pressure on girls from society and social media to conform, Willows offers your daughter a supportive environment that helps her understand and live the balance between authentic freedom and personal responsibility. And the quality of education and the values of the school will give you serious peace of mind. Come and check out Willows Academy at their open house on Sunday, October 15th. That's this Sunday, 1 p.m. Register online at willowsacademy.org. Again, the open house open to girls grades 6 through 12, and it is this coming Sunday, October 15th at 1 p.m. Register at willowsacademy.org.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having nationwide access with an annual deductible of only $226. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part, my guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 28-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
After a divorce. Oh, we're talking about Kevin Costner and how he's performing at one of the bars that you were just
The
at.
Cowboy Bar, which is sort of famous in Jackson.
Oh. He was here in Des Plaines, too, at the Des Plaines
Getting
Theater.
around. He's got nothing but time on his hands now that he doesn't have to get back home to the little lady.
I know, but didn't he stop
Work on his
making
music.
Yellowstone because she was saying you're spending too much time away from home, and then he quits that, and then just be your own man.
I don't know.
It's
you
so
know,
confusing.
Harrison Ford didn't want to talk about it, so I didn't press the issue.
I know. Okay. All right, it's almost time for Balance of Nature. I take it every day about this time. Why? I didn't have any fruits and vegetables yesterday, did I? Oh, no, not a one. And that's why I take Balance of Nature. 31 whole fruits and veggies in those bad boys. Real food, real nutrition. So feel better. Get the nutrition your body needs. Be proactive and get healthy. Why not? Just give it a try. Some people, it takes a week. Others, just a few days. But commit to one bottle of fruits and veggies and then let us know how you feel. We're always here. You can always email me at the station, at the show. I'd love to hear your success story. 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago or simply go online to balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
Some save money for one big dream vacation. I take the kids camping twice a year.
For me, what's most important is sharing with my community members in need.
My financial goals? Expect the unexpected and plan accordingly.
At Thrivent, we believe money is a tool, not a goal. Driven by a higher purpose at our core for more than 100 years, we offer expert financial advice that starts with what's important to you. Visit Thrivent.com to learn more.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
You've heard me talk about my love of coffee over and over again. I'm here to tell you I have discovered one of the best brews I've ever tasted and a company that I cannot wait to support. I'm here to tell you about Bone Frog Coffee. The Bone Frog is a sacred symbol in the SEAL teams. It honors those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. Bone Frog was founded by Tim Crook Shank, a former Navy SEAL and 25-year Navy veteran. Bone Frog honors the fallen, those who gave everything for our freedoms and our American way of life, by giving 10% of all the proceeds to benefit many of the U.S. Navy SEAL foundations. Here's what I need you to do. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Get 10% off your first order. You will also get 15% off Bone Frog Coffee subscriptions. Just enter Liberty at checkout. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. That's bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Taste one of the best brews you ever tasted. 10% of the proceeds go to benefit the Navy SEALs. You'll feel good. It's an American company. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
How radical relativism leads to ideological fanaticism. We'll break that down with Daniel Mahoney, professor of politics at Assumption College. Certainly relevant for our discussion all morning about the fallout from the Hamas terrorist attack. That's all at 8:38.
But now let's head straight into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
42 degrees at 8:30. Frost advisories have expired, but there's rain on the way. Palestinians in the sealed-off Gaza Strip are struggling to find any safe areas right now as Israeli strikes demolish Hamas terror command and control centers. Hospitals are running low on supplies, and the territory's only power plant has run out of fuel. The bombardment rages on even though terrorists are holding an estimated 150 people snatched from Israel. Soldiers, men, women, children, and older adults. Fox's Trey Yingst is reporting right from the Israel-Gaza border.
We know that overnight Israel continued its airstrikes against the Gaza Strip, also today using artillery to strike Hamas positions in a variety of locations, focusing on the northern and eastern part of Gaza, where ground troops ultimately are expected to go in. Today on Israel's northern border, there was a strike against a group of Israeli soldiers coming from southern Lebanon. The Lebanese militant group Hezbollah has been firing on this border, opening up this conflict to a multi-front war. Israel was bracing for this possibility. It's part of the reason they called up 360,000 reserve forces.
The war has claimed at least 2,200 lives across both sides. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will travel to Israel this week to show U.S. support for the Jewish state. He's expected to arrive on Thursday. Utah this morning says they'll sue TikTok, arguing the social media app misled people and misled them about its connections to its Chinese parent company, deceptively claiming the platform was safe. Residents of Joliet Township packed Tuesday night's board meeting, rejecting the township's attempt to receive a state of Illinois asylum seeker grant. The $8.6 million in political money is supposed to help Joliet Township and other municipalities welcome illegal migrants.
We are unprepared of something that we didn't know about. So I'm here today to say, we should have had an idea, we should have known about it, we should have put a press release because it connects all people.
The mayor of Joliet, Terry Darcy, demanded the smaller government body give back the money. Says the city will not cooperate. Mayor Brandon Johnson is set to unveil his first spending plan today while under intense pressure to make good on campaign promises and close a $538 million budget gap. The Blackhawks scored 3 goals in the third during a 4-2 season-opening win over the Penguins in Pittsburgh. Connor Bedard notching a win and a helper in his first NHL contest. And the Blackhawks visit the Bruins later on tonight. Also later today in the National League Division Series, the Braves visit the Phillies and the Dodgers visit the Diamondbacks. The news, a service of Staples stores. At Staples, you can now count on every print project being perfect. And now, get $50 off your print order of $150 or more. Offer ends 10/14. Visit staples.com/print for details. Perfect prints guaranteed at Staples. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Freedom Summit Chicago tickets are now on sale. Join AM 560, The Answer, on November 11th at the Westin Chicago Northwest for Freedom Summit, featuring Rand Paul, Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, and many more. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by St. John's Lutheran School in Lombard, Tom Miraboli, independent insurance agent with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, and by overheaddoorchicago.com.
You want your basement to be dry most of the time? If so, Permaseal is not the company for you. At Permaseal, we believe your basement should be dry all the time, no matter how hard it rains. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer, president of Permaseal. I've heard many homeowners say that their basement only leaks when it rains. Well, you don't worry about your living room or bedroom getting wet, so you should feel the same way about your basement. Call 800-421-SEAL. We offer a free estimate, no haggle pricing, and a price assurance guarantee so you can rest assured you're getting the best value. If you want your basement dry all the time, you know who to call, Permaseal. We've helped over 450,000 homeowners across Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana since 1979 and have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
Don't best for being better, Permaseal.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm Carolyn. I've been in private practice of physicians physical therapy for 35 years.
And you're going to come in, but breathe. Yep, perfect.
I open up at 4 a.m. and I'll go on till 10 a.m. and it's day after day. And as you can see by the equipment here, we are intensely active. People watch, they observe, and people say, Carolyn, what's your secret? And I say it's from proper diet, proper exercise, and of course through Balance of Nature. I'm 60, but since taking Balance of Nature, I feel the energy level of 27. I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years, and I love it. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows and doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we've been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows. From modern to traditional styles, Marvin replacement windows and doors can bring your garden right into your living space. Let us help make your world feel brighter and spacious. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you'll get a product expert, a design consultant who is solution-minded, and someone who has your best interest in mind. Our professional services, along with the best products like Marvin, are why we are proud of our 5-star reviews. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing. are why Woodland Windows is your trusted window and door experts in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation, or come and experience our state-of-the-art showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
8:37. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Eden's inbound 45, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy inbound. It is right now 90 minutes from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. You're jammed between the Edens Junction and North Avenue. Outbound 39 back out to the big airport. The Ike inbound, an hour 12 if you're coming in from Mannheim into the old post office. Things are delayed on the Stevenson as well with an accident inbound at Central, and it's an hour from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. The Dan Ryan, 45 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds on the increase. Showers kick in this afternoon. Will top out at 64. Rain and drizzle overnight. A low of 55. More rain tomorrow. 43 degrees at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. America First with Sebastian Gorka. Weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The cultural response to the Hamas terrorist attack in Israel is instructive about culture in the West in the 21st century. Let me give you an example. I mean, you saw it in Chicago with the rally for Hamas, effectively downtown before the Israeli consulate.
Yeah, and hundreds of people were there.
You also saw it, and this has been remarked upon by many, but it bears rehearing because it is so stark. The protest/rally outside the Opera House in Sydney, Australia. F the Jews, gas the Jews. That's what hundreds of people were chanting, waving Palestinian flags. Gas the Jews.
At Harvard, they were calling the Jewish people Nazis and white supremacists.
So one of the most important observations of the last 100 years for me, I've mentioned it before, and it has incredible salience. It has ever since she wrote it in Mystery and Manners. Flannery O'Connor's observation about tenderness. But it's more than what you just hear. Tenderness leads to the gas chamber. That's always an excerpt of it. You don't get the full picture. The more complete contextual quote is this: if other ages felt less, they saw more, even though they saw with the blind, prophetical, unsentimental eye of acceptance, which is to say of faith. In the absence of this faith now, she was writing almost 100 years ago, in the absence of this faith now, we govern by tenderness. It is a tenderness which, long cut off from the person of Christ, is wrapped in theory. When tenderness is detached from the source of tenderness, its logical outcome is terror. It ends in forced labor camps and in the fumes of the gas chamber. Tenderness cut off from its source, the person of Christ. Another way to put it in secular terms, Chris Rufo, writing about our culture over at his Substack, Chris Rufo from the Manhattan Institute. Today we're witnessing the emergence of something new, the cluster B society. Like the culture of narcissism, our digital age has distinct psychological traits, heavily influenced by the rise of personal pathologies and the power of social media. For this generation, the cameras are always on. The audience is always watching. And the old narcissism has transformed into hysteria, moral theatrics, emotional volatility, self-indulgence, and outbursts of violence. Psychologists have captured the spirit of our modern culture in 4 specific psychopathologies that together make up the cluster B personality disorders: the narcissist, the borderline, the histrionic, and the antisocial. And now they're members of Congress and other elected bodies. Not to mention Fortune 500 CEOs and university presidents and so forth. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined again by Daniel Mahoney, who's a professor of politics at Assumption College and author of The Statesman as Thinker, Portraits of Greatness, Courage, and Moderation. Professor Mahoney, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure to join you again.
I read your essay about truth in politics and radical relativism, and I couldn't help but think of Flannery O'Connor. Is that a fair description of where you think we're at now, governing by detached tenderness?
Yes, I do. And one thing I had tried to do in my piece, which I began as a talk to a few weeks ago to the Fellowship of Catholic Scholars in Washington, D.C., was to highlight one of the great and terrible paradoxes of our age, which is that radical relativism, a denial, you might say, of any ground or source for truth. Now, that can be from Revelation, as Flannery O'Connor discusses in her essay that you referred to in Mystery and Manners, or it can be natural law, or it could be the Decalogue, it could be some firm source for moral judgment that provides guidance for how individuals and political communities ought to live. And one of the paradoxes, I think, of our age is that certainly our intellectual class and more of the sort of fevered activists and partisans, they combine a denial of any ground of truth or moral judgment with some of those very things that Christopher Rufo was talking about: moralistic indignation, hysteria, fanaticism. I don't know if we have to exactly resort to psychological theory. I think what I try to do in my piece show is that human beings are moral animals, and the great tradition of the West always affirmed that moral judgments were not arbitrary, but they could be adjudicated before what I call the tribunal of reason. But when you deny that, the moral passions, the necessity and reality of moral judgment doesn't go away. It sort of goes underground, and it comes back up as fanaticism and indignation. We saw that with Marxism, which was officially denied any moral ground of intellectual ground, moral ground for truth, and yet was just marked by anger and indignation from beginning to end. I think we see that with wokery. We certainly see this with the response to, what happened in Israel over the weekend, just the most brutal, savage nihilism, and the fact that a large part of our activist and intellectual class and political class in some cases responds either with the weakest form of moral equivalence, or what we saw in front of the Sydney Opera House, just the celebration of barbarism and murder. And it's a very revealing moment. I don't think we've had as revealing a moment since the summer of 2020, when so many intellectuals and politicians celebrated lawlessness and a sort of frontal assault on the very idea of America. But these are revealing moments. They really show us where we are. And a friend of mine, Jacob Howland, you may have seen his article at power line yesterday. Harvard is a disgrace. The fact that so many student organizations at Harvard could celebrate murderous nihilistic assault on innocents and
Yeah, but
really yes, go ahead.
well, what now? I mean, a lot of Jewish Americans are Democrats, and I think that this is a wake-up call, especially for those who have BLM signs on their front yards in Chicago.
Yeah, well, this is a big problem for the Jewish community because you compare the Jewish reaction to, let's say, the Yom Kippur War in 1973, where almost all American Jews rallied to the state of Israel, or in '67 with the Six-Day War. The difference today, I think, is, as several people have pointed out, the memory of the Holocaust for the younger generations is less real, less grounded, less existential. And, a large part of the Jewish community, especially the young, have bought into the politics of liberation, the sort of progressivist ideology. And the problem is, if you accept the entire woke critique of the Western world, see the United States, a comparatively decent and free society as the center of evil in the modern world. Well, part of that whole syndrome, that set of beliefs, that moral indignation I referred to earlier, includes the idea that Israel is an apartheid state, indistinguishable at best from South Africa before 1990, and maybe even the new instantiation of Nazi Germany in the contemporary. It's insane, but that's what the hard left believes, and a lot of radical young Jews have to decide: are they going to reconsider that ideology in light of experience, or are they going to choose the politics of revolutionary indignation over fidelity to their own people? And yes, it's a really interesting question why Jewish Americans so overwhelmingly vote outside of the Orthodox community, the Hasidic Jews, etc. They vote overwhelmingly for a Democratic Party, which is, I saw a headline the other day when Dianne Feinstein died. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, a piece about how with her death, the pro-Israel caucus within the Democratic Party in the Senate is at risk. That's amazing. No one would have said 15 years ago the thought that half of the Democratic Party in the U.S. Senate would be anti-Israel, or at best tepid about an American alliance with Israel. But that's where we are.
Well, that poison is afoot in the Catholic Church too. Speaking as one, I mean, it's the social justice Catholics have fallen prey to sort of the same siren songs that you're describing, and also too. I mean, the secularists will respond to this discussion by saying, well, what you saw with the terrorist attack in Gaza is religious fanaticism, and what we really need to guard against is, this sort of libertarian type is the religious fanaticism, because it's all the religious inspired, faith inspired violence. How would you respond to that?
Well, first of all, Machiavelli, way back in his Prince in 1513, denounces something called pious cruelty. Over 3 centuries, the Inquisition killed 3,000 people. In the 20th century, atheistic regimes killed over 100 million people at the service of their political or secular religions, which were far more cruel and fanatical than traditional religion. And I would say the problem is not religion per se. I don't even know if religion per se exists. The problem with a group like Hamas is a mixture of Islamism, the most fundamentalist and fanatical reading of the Quran and the Hadith. There's other ways of reading it, but that's how they read it, and they combine that really with secular ideology, with a kind of totalitarian politics. So I think it's just silly to say, oh, it's religion's fault. And look, what kind of what kind of religion posits that the death of innocence is somehow in accord with the requirements of how God-fearing human beings ought to exist. So I think we're dealing with something very particular, which is a mix of secular and religious fanaticism. But to say, well, that means we have to condemn Christianity and Judaism. Deep-seated, anti-religious feeling among the intellectual class, and really, it's would we be better off as a world or civilization if the sense of the sacred? I think one of the most important things about religion is the sense of restraint.
Yes.
The sense that not every, as Dostoevsky says, if there's no God, everything is permitted. The fact that some fanatics manipulate religion or certain religious traditions to justify, the most godless and unacceptable deeds says more, I think, about the imperfections of human nature than about the intrinsic evil of religion.
I want to put this question to you that I put to Brian Birch at Catholic Vote in conversation I had with him for my podcast, which is, can America continue to be free if it continues to grow increasingly anti-Christian and anti-Judaism? I don't mean is secular. I mean anti-Christian and anti-Judaism, which is the path it's on right now, including within those faith communities.
You may remember the rousing final words of the first section of C.S. Lewis's Abolition of Man, where he said, we castrate and bid the gelding be fruitful. We mock honor and wonder why there are traitors in our midst. I think in the long run, no. I just don't think a decent society is possible without some principled affirmation of the enduring perennial distinction between truth and falsehood and right and wrong. And whether we like it or not, as George Washington said in his farewell address, maybe a few exceptional minds can hold on to those enduring distinctions and not be religious believers. But for a society as a whole, a sense of transcendence, a sense of looking up to what's enduring and true, which is so tied to, so integral to religion, seems to me indispensable for a decent society. And I always used to tell my students, something happened between the mid-'60s and the mid-'70s in America. It was the beginning of this collapse of authority and weakening of religious and moral affirmation. You could see it, the response to I think it was 1964-65 when the lights went out in New York City, and then again in 77. In 64-65, we had a lot of babies born 9 months later. And in 77, we saw mass looting in New York City.
That's a really interesting dichotomy. Yeah.
And it was that inner check, that sense of limits and restraint and obligation. But at a minimum, no society can live without some understanding of the truths that, let's say, undergird the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments, and the thought that you're going to have a free people, that is capable of exercising self-restraint, being public-spirited, caring about truth, eschewing evil, and doing the good, when they're either indifferent to truth or out-and-out relativists, I think it's just impossible to fathom how that could be. And as I said earlier, when I tried to do it in my Truth and Politics pieces, it's really worse than that, because when our moral needs, our moral capacities do not gain any kind of official recognition, they're not going to go away. They're going to come. We have a lot of moral indignation today, and the clips you broadcast for your listeners are a perfect illustration of that. And that moralistic intensity is deeply immoral, but it's the result of rejecting those standards, those affirmations, those truths that inform and, I would say, discipline moral judgment. Being angry, like a lot of my college students are, all the time is hardly a moral stance. You know, the great Catholic philosopher theologian Pascal said, "Our first moral obligation is to think well." You know, these people are not thinking well. You know, these people are permanently angry and burning things down and celebrating killing and confusing Israel. There's a lot of moral and intellectual confusion.
Indeed. Professor Daniel Mahoney, professor of politics at Assumption College, author of The Statesman as Thinker, Portraits of Greatness, Courage, and Moderation. Professor Mahoney, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you both again. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-950-0099. 800-950-0099. That's 800-950-0099.
Are you ready to transform your bathroom into a comfortable sanctuary of luxury? Turn to Forever Remodeling. At Forever Remodeling, we're not just about aesthetics, we're about functionality. Picture a bathroom that blends style and practicality. Our skilled team ensures every detail is perfect from tiles to fixtures. If you're ready for your beautiful bathroom upgrade, schedule an in-home consultation and give us a call today at 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. That's foreverremodeling.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right. Thanks so much for making us part of your morning, part of your lives. Dan, we're glad you're back. Did you have a good time? Because I know how you love to talk about things like this.
Jackson Hole is beautiful. Mountain West, beautiful. Fishing and shooting and sightseeing, Grand Tetons, and drinking and drinking and drinking. It was fun.
And drinking at the Grand Tetons, too,
No,
maybe?
Cowboy Bar.
Okay.
And other places. Great restaurants. Jackson Hole's great. Beautiful.
All right. Thanks to Justin Kosick, who's 2 more days while he's single. And Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. It is now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
We keep hearing horror stories out of Israel. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We are sitting here and there are a lot of shootings around us. Mommy, I think I'm going to die.
That's the last time Mirov heard from her daughter, missing since being caught in Hamas's terror attack Saturday.
Naomi was shouting, Mommy, they shot at us. We are all wounded. I was shot in the hand. The car cannot go.
And Mirov tells Fox these words haunt her.
Mommy, you have to come and take us out. And I knew we couldn't do anything.
The Hamas is believed to have more than 100 hostages, including Americans, as Israel keeps bombarding Gaza with a 5th day of bombing.
Israel